had some technical errors in the background. Yeah, we have a lot of talk about tonight. I think we might have a guest show up tonight, and um, oh shit, that that's what just
Valid
happened.
guess.
Hold on a second.
We are live.
Jesus.
Hmm. Don't know what to say about that. Oh, is Jesus calling?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
He's outside your door now. Pick up the phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to get our guest in.
Oh, okay. So how's everyone's night tonight?
I can't complain. We got some new tools to fight against corporate media. I'm really excited about that. I think I saw it
Huh?
showed you guys some of our new toys, but yeah, I think it's been a pretty good one. There are people in the world that have it way worse, that's for sure.
Experimental hardware and software right now, huh?
Yeah.
So as far as far as this week, we had some big things. I'm gonna get to Julian Assange in a little bit. Facebook lost billions this week, um, which was utterly hilarious. That was like delayed karma. While at the same time, Apple became the first $1 trillion company. Became is worth trillions now. What the fuck?
Showed Apple was more trusted brand.
So
How
yeah, at
about that?
some point, right, with Apple, okay, so you guys are worth $1 trillion, so you can stop slaving people out now, right? Like you got enough. I realize you need precious metals, but you can quit using slave labor to do it. No, like I think
Cost,
that's a legitimate request. Like once you make your first $1 trillion, I think you're good, right?
Yeah, you think, right?
costs a lot of money to have robots build robots.
That's fine. I just need robots to build our iPads with recycled ocean plastic. That's a win.
It's a good use for these modified guns, right? 3D printed. Here's a bottle of water.
To be honest, like it's one of those when it comes. I guess the NRA is freaking out about it. I'm not real. I don't think that we should really be able to 3D print guns, but it is like the ultimate show of your Second Amendment rights. Every person in America being able to print their own weapon if needed is the like holy grail, right?
Uh, and people back in the day used sticks and rocks. Make some arrowheads out of some rocks. Some nice axes and hammers. Some
We can
spear tips.
have
Well,
the equipment.
that was the funniest shit. That was the funny thing. That was really funny about that the 3D printed guns is the Department of Justice approved it,
Yeah,
and like I don't understand like
I
they approved it first, and then
think. Look, with a lot of these things in Congress, look, these guys are not scientists. These guys are not technology literate. I'm sure they signed off on it and had no idea what they were signing.
yeah, yeah.
Whichever arms company they love so much was going to be 3D printing guns instead of manufacturing, and not that you could 3D print one in your basement.
Maybe should be restricted, like maybe what gunsmithing classes. Who needs a ghost AR anyways? Were you hunting wild boar?
Well, I would imagine it would be to possibly stand up against a tyrannical government.
Sticks and rocks,
No, we can use less than lethal rounds.
cricket paddles.
We ain't even trying to kill anybody. You know
I
what?
was tying up some duct tape.
We'll make not just less than lethal, but completely non-lethal rounds.
Bean bags.
When you have a weapon that you can fire, that you could 3D print, because that's what it's going to be. People are going to think up better and better weaponry, right? What are they going to do when you think up a weapon that no, your life is 100% not in danger?
I think maybe they worried about not just what you can order online, but maybe something that you can make up yourself that nobody has any comprehension of how to build themselves other than you. Maybe a 3D printed bomb.
Oh, I think like there comes a point where if people are going to do bad shit, they're going to do bad shit. But I don't want them to 3D print to let them download 3D printed weapons. I don't think that's a great idea. But I do think it's an interesting like moment in time because you have to make some real decisions there. But like the deal is that every person would be able to print a firearm if they needed to.
Yeah.
I couldn't see anyone using it for much other than like maybe making toys. You going 3D print a wrench maybe to turn some bolts and screws. I wouldn't try. Uh, ooh.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm definitely not in favor of people being able to do that. I think it'll turn out really bad. But number one, look, everybody knows that it can be done. So I mean, some of it is done.
Sorry, guys, I'm having some technical difficulties. Um, guys, you guys want to move this? You guys want to move this this chat to like another chat room
Oh,
for
back up.
for our guest?
Okay.
Oh, he got misdirected. Okay, sure.
Yeah, let me try and move this to the other chat. Let's get off this call and let's move to the old chat room because I guess our guest is having trouble getting into that one. All right, let me get off this call.
Hello?
Yo,
Yeah, can you?
hello.
Yeah,
Am I finally in the right place?
yeah.
I suck at Hangouts. I warned you about that. It's so complicated on Android too. It looks so much better on the computer, you know. I mean, easier to use. But hey, anyway, I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. It was like what I saw like the call coming in, but then I was like, what's going on, you know?
Sorry, it's probably my fault. Like I said, I just really suck at Hangouts especially on the Android. Like I'm good with it on the computer, but because everything's sort of much more intuitive. But
That's so
I
weird.
don't
Like
know
you
if
can't.
anybody.
That's so weird. Like if I added you to the chat room, like you don't even see it. I guess maybe they
I,
never.
I, I kept just
Yeah. Go ahead.
it just kept going back to the index. It kept going back to my contacts, and every time I clicked a link, and then I would get in the chat room, I could see all of you, talking to each other. So I hit the call button, figuring that's got to be the right place. But then nothing would happen; it would not pick up. But when you called me, it worked. Anyway, we should not bore our listeners with our terrible technical problems. Just
Yeah.
leave it at this. I suck at Hangouts on Android, so probably every week just call me. And that seemed to work really good. So
uh,
I do the best I can. Android, like I said, it's just not an intuitive interface. So
Yeah. I think I lost a few of our viewers, and I was going, uh, like trying to do two
I'm
things.
so fucking sorry.
Yeah. No worries. I was like trying
Sorry,
to do
guys.
two
All
things at
my
the same
fault.
time.
All my bad.
I
I'll
think
try to bring him back on Twitter.
Terrence, you here?
I'll tweet out. I'll
good.
tweet out a bunch of shit. Maybe we can get him back.
Oh, Terrence, you hear me?
Nope.
That's a funny one.
and Oh, he was gone for real.
Terrence.
Hi, everybody. Anyway, it's good to be back on.
Yeah, I hear
Is this
Terrence. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, but I mean, those 3D printed guns. Well, that wasn't the 3D printed guns. Really, wasn't the bad thing. I think about what whether you're pro Second Amendment or it actually what they did kind of violated the First Amendment, which was freedom of information and freedom of press. So what they did, what you didn't hear, is that the federal government literally there's a website called dfac.org, which is the company that's going to be um, uh, launching the plans online. And this isn't the first time the federal government has taken them offline. I wasn't aware. I mean, I was aware that there are certain things you can't put on the internet, like how to build a nuclear weapon, how to put plans for yeah, like you can find yeah, you know what I mean. You like how to make drugs, but
How
I
to make Sarah nerve gas.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
but you can find plans on how to make bows and arrows and knives and swords, but you can't put plans out there to make guns. And I'm not sure. I mean, this is like a gray zone. Like they're saying that it violates like some the information is violating a federal law, and I'm not really sure it is, but that's really up to like a supreme judge or Supreme Court justice to like or the courts to decide that. But like I was under the impression that that the freedom of speech, and press, the First Amendment, was really unrestricted, and then the federal government has in place all of this other shit on there. Am I wrong?
It sounds like a kick on the First and Second Amendment.
I know you were following Tyler my Twitter this week. I noticed you liked or retweeted a couple of them. I mean, come on, guys. It's not just guns, man. They got like a grenade launcher. They got this one that's so fucking cool. It's like this handheld cannon called the Thunderlord. I mean, come on, I gotta fucking have one of those, man. I mean, I'm fucking serious. You know, when that creepy Mexican robber comes over my back wall with his little pea shooter Saturday Night Special, I'm gonna whip out my Thunderlord and be like, come on, dude, I want you to meet my little friend. I mean, shit, dude.
You want
I'm
something
all
like the
for it. I
Sweet
love guns.
Business or Gallahorn.
like
I mean, I love guns. I'm a strong believer in self-defense. I'm a strong believer. I'm not in the USA anymore, so I guess the Second Amendment really doesn't fucking matter to me. Although I've got what people like you, all my friends that I've left behind. So, and I guess it matters to me because it matters to you guys. I want you to be able to defend yourselves too. But in general, I love guns. I think that good people should have, unlimited access to guns. I live in a very dangerous country now, much more dangerous than the USA, and I want the right to defend myself, but I can't go down to the Walmart and buy even a shotgun like you can in America anymore. It just does. It's not that way here. So, a 3D printer is something I've always wanted to buy. I'm going to buy one as soon as I got the money, and I think it's a wonderful fucking thing all the way around. And I pointed out to this congressman. I had this little peaceful debate with no, he wasn't a congressman. He was a legislator from Connecticut, and me and him had a little tit for tat on Twitter this week where he said, we're going to illegalize this. We're going to block these sites in Connecticut. We're going to pass legislation. And I tweeted back and I said, that's all well and good, dude, but you need to know that every single one of these plans is already available on Pirate Bay. Good luck with blocking that. And he went and checked. He went and checked. He went and checked and then tweeted back, I guess you're right. There's no point in the legislation. They're fucking everywhere.
yeah,
And,
the
I just,
ag.
my opinion is it's a good thing. I mean, that's my opinion is that it's a good thing. Bad people will always find a way to get a gun. But here I am. I'm a good person who wants to defend myself and my family, and I can't get one, because of the laws in my country where
Oh
there is
yeah,
no
yeah.
second
The
amendment.
guns
There
are
is no
totally illegal
guaranteed
there.
right to a gun.
Yeah, I got arrested in
Right.
Mexico
So,
for bringing a gun there.
Well, the
and
thing
you're not
about
the
the
only
3D
one.
printed guns, they're not going to be good but for so many shots, anyways. I think you
That's
can use a
fine. I only
3D
need one
gun
to save
about
my
three
life. I
times.
only need one shot to save my life. So I'm good with that. I get that. I know they're made out of plastic. Okay. I get that. But the thing is, like I said, I might use it like once in my whole fucking life. And it saves, like I said, it saves my life from some shithead coming over my back wall with a Saturday Night Special. So, We've got a big dog here. It's a huge dog. Those who know a little bit about me know of our dog. We call it the Haven puppy, but it ain't no fucking puppy. It's a hound dog that weighs 100 pounds, and it'll kill you. It'll kill you if we tell it to. But they can shoot that too. So I mean, I want to be able to defend myself and my family. My sister's here with me. I feel like I have that right to do that. I feel like good people in this world in general should be able to defend themselves, and I think that this is an incredible way for those who are in countries that are regulated. And you know what? The U.S. isn't much better than Mexico. It's still really hard for somebody like me. I have a record. I have a criminal record. I couldn't buy a gun in the USA. And it wasn't a violent record. I was arrested for drugs, in my youth. And so fucking what, right? But because of that, I can't go out and buy a weapon even in the United States. So I just think that these printed guns are all around a great fucking thing. And I think people, I think it's a good thing to help good people protect themselves against bad people. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I kind of, some people are gonna hate me for this, but I am for a Second Amendment, and I'm gonna defend that to like to like the end of the end of the day, and like I'm kind of getting mad, at the articles when they're saying these 3D printed guns, with they're showing the one shot fucking plastic gun, like that's old school 3D printed guns, like the new Ghost Gunners, if nobody's up to par on where they're at. You can now make them in full steel and aluminum using aluminum blocks and steel using the micro millers. So like we're not dealing with no just plastic guns. We're dealing with the full shebang. Anybody can manufacture and print up all of the materials, the slides, lower receivers. Like all the
I'm going for carbon fiber.
yeah, we're not talking your basic fucking one shot fucking zip guns. We're talking full on fucking the real deal. There's almost no distinction besides some cosmetic work you need to do to make it look like the real thing.
Okay, there are places and there are times when a firearm might be needed. You're in a dangerous. To be honest, I don't see this working out to our benefit. People that are printing them off are going to be people that we don't want to have them. And I think the people that are end up going to get hurt are going to be a lot of innocent people. Most people aren't. If there's an issue with the gun, most people aren't going to be in some mass shooting or robbery. Most people are going to be killed with a gun due to suicide. Like that's the truth.
Mm.
I think we have to take that into consideration. Yeah, I do think that people should have the right to defend themselves. I think that people should have the right to get a hold of firearms for all sorts of reasons. Whether it's for protection, whether it's to make sure that you keep in line. There's all sorts of reasons that it could be done. But I think this being people in a bad place, your girlfriend broke up with you, you're 18 years old, more likely than not. More likely people on breaking into your house.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit, Terrence. Sorry about that.
I've got good. It's insane. Whatever.
Yeah, somebody must be playing PlayStation in the other room or something.
Where I'm at in town here, fast. There's no way. It's 100 meg connection.
Yeah, I know. I get the same thing. That's why I've always been opting, to use different platforms, as far as calling and whatever is concerned. But yeah, I mean, I get it, and with mass shootings and and suicides, but a lot of people like the federal government, like I was watching YouTube channel like on this computer program who made a lot of logical sense, when I was watching a pretty old video like on assault weapons and what was considered an assault weapon and what weapons have been used in mass shootings, and a lot of them they were focused on assault rifles, right? But like that's not always the case. Sometimes especially like the Batman movie theater and the Virginia Tech, I don't know. Sometimes I think that I don't know. They were not done, but
that
yeah. Go ahead.
particularly matter. There was, in U.S. history, we have a real problem with people blowing shit up with TNT. This used to be like a normal occurrence.
What?
Just ate, right? People blew each other up constantly with fucking TNT, and eventually they really did restrict the access to TNT, and that is went down significantly. Um, you know, there that has to do really with ease of access. At that very moment, it doesn't matter what weapon it was. Um, if you could get it easily, that was where the person that was making those kind of decisions was gonna go to. Underneath all of that, right, having no mental health um, care in America is a big part of that. Look, no matter what mass shooting you want to call it, whether it's a church shooting, whether it's a mass shooting here, whether it's a school shooting, you got to be fucking crazy to shoot up a school. You got to be fucking crazy to shoot up, you know what I mean, a group of innocent people, right? So I mean, every single one of these people has a mental disorder because you have to have a mental disorder to do something like that, right? The two things are synonymous. You can't have sane people don't shoot up schools, right? Sane people
We hope not.
don't
I'm sorry.
like that's just not something that sane people do. And the fact that we don't have any mental health to catch these things way earlier is a huge problem.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, there's like another issue that's been going on in America, for a long time is that, of course, the mental health issues in America's youth doesn't get addressed because we don't have almost, I mean, if you, you know, you know what I was talking about, where socialized medicine should be established in the United States, where everybody should have access to mental health and medical services. From a universal payer, and the government should be flipping the bill. We fucking pay for everything in this country. I mean, that's like another avenue. Where that could be addressed. I mean, if Billy's
More taxes.
if Billy's having fucking like behavioral issues at 7, and then kills a bunch of people at 12, and mom and dad don't have access to fucking to a psychiatrist or mental health provider, to try and get them the help, then I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of issues in America that's like way overlooked, and then they always refer to you know the teachers or whatever, but it's not necessarily the teacher's issue. The teacher's responsibility to report all this shit to
And some of it's not that you didn't notice, but because there's no like safety net in healthcare, you don't pick any of it up. Or you get swept in from one system or another. They're hoping that you just do some petty crime somewhere and just end up in the prison system. Most people don't freak out and shoot up a place, right? So I mean, most people just have those kind of issues and they run into other problems. That's how our prisons get filled. And most of the times, it's a lot of people that are in prison have mental disorders, and rather than getting them any sort of help earlier on, they're happy to have you go to that system. It normally doesn't get to the normally not into the place. You're in the right place to do to do something like that. You normally end up offing yourself or ending up in prison.
yeah.
But back to the 3D printed guns, I would see it is going to make it a little bit easier for people that I would like every American, every citizen that wants to own a firearm, that's trained in a firearm, to be able to have access to one. I don't have a problem with that at all. There is like a whole group of people that would like guns out of their hands, and we got to kind of figure out a way to do that.
Uh,
I mean, we could at least 3D print some houses or something. I mean,
Yeah.
something useful.
They are. Doing that.
Yeah, they are doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
In Sweden,
Yeah, I know.
they 3D printed a bunch of concrete houses already. The prototypes. I read an article just the other day on it. So
Yeah.
pretty much anything I think at this point is going to be 3D printed. I think the guns are inevitable. First of all, I almost think it's a moot point. But as an anarchist, I could give a rat's ass about laws or whatever. I mean, I think society should just let it fly. I think society should be self-policing. If we have crazy people, then you take care of those crazy people. I think part of what isolates us from each other and makes it so that we don't want to help each other and reach out and do things for each other is the fact that we are all dependent on government to begin with. So as an anarchist, I think that the way to go is, I remember one person back in Santa Cruz way back when I was still in the States, telling me that we need more what he called barefoot social workers. People to just go out and take care of people, man. There are people. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of those people that is really good with like empathy and caring for people that are kind of spun. But there are people that dig it, who dig taking care of people like that. And I think that, if we just, I think that as an anarchist, we can work it out ourselves without government intervention. And I think that I also go back to my original point. Crazy people, criminals, they're going to find a way to get a gun if they want one, or they'll just build a bomb out of fertilizer, or and blow up a school. I mean, if your intent for whatever reason, be it criminal intent or you're psychotic or sociopathic, and you're intent on doing damage, you're going to do damage. This is a world we live in where what are we going to do? Regulate everything? Are you going to regulate rat poison? Are you going to regulate soda pop? You're going to regulate, it's becoming a nanny state where every fucking thing that's dangerous now is going to be regulated. Shit, you can't even buy a knife now in most places in the United States. Double-edged weapons are illegal. Swords are illegal. Come on, I mean, it's getting to the point where it's fucking crazy. And it also scares me that the cops are going to be the only ones left in society that can get a hold of these big blaster weapons, like machine guns and shit like that. And that makes me really nervous. So
Well, you got a point. If things go with the way that they're regulating, soon, even pre-crime, and then we'll have like thought police. Pre-crime will be an issue, so you'll be arrested for things that you haven't done. There was a
That is
Yeah, go ahead.
in the future. The being controlled by how they read your about words screen. They are getting to the point where in the right situations that technology is where you'll they don't like. That is something we need to smash quick. Unique position to see where technology is going, to kind of know where it's going. It's there so that we can make some rules to keep that kind of insanity from going down the road. We tried to do something organizing space. It didn't really work, but the same kind of concept is that if used for shut that.
Oh my God, somebody's dog, bro.
I don't have
I'm
any.
trying. I don't even know where the mute button is. It's me. It's on my end. I can't even. I'm trying to find the fucking mute button on Android. I got my fist over the mic though.
That's okay.
That's my dog. That's the
Sure.
dog I told you that was going to get. He's going nuts. We have a big giant, I don't know what they Rottweiler that lives, and because of the way our compound is set up, the Rottweiler is on a roof above us, and it barks down at our dog. And I think my sister's downstairs dealing with it now. So
Gotcha. Uh,
it's Mexico, man. What am I gonna
yeah.
do? You know what I mean? It's the middle of the summertime, so everybody's outside, and
Yeah. Dogs on the street everywhere.
Amy, can you put her inside?
So,
So what's up with
yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna bring this back to Julian Assange, and I was gonna go with some other issues with Julian. But what is okay? I know the health issues that Julian has. Okay, but what does anybody know what the press keeps on saying that Julian's health is getting worse.
It is now his teeth are going, and that's actually a problem. It's funny when my sister let me know about the tweet this week. There was a tweet that went out reporting that he's having some very bad dental issues, and that's something I can actually relate to. One of the problems that I've had being 8 years in exile is I haven't been able to see a doctor. I may be at my liberty, but I'm always on the run. I don't have any money. I don't have any ID. Um, so it's been very difficult for me, and I have some extremely painful and problematic dental issues, and it appears that Julian's suffering from the same thing. And it just all stems from access. It stems from having access to medical care. So now on top of it, and if anybody out there has ever had, just even one tooth go bad, Julian's dealing with several teeth that have gone bad on him since he's been in there. I'm dealing with like 8 or 9. So I mean, the pain that I deal with is just extraordinary, just on a daily basis from it. So yeah, his health is definitely declining. I mean, the
And I
last video again that I saw of him that was leaked by one of his lawyers, he weighs like 90 pounds now, and
Wow.
and then that's not even counting the psychological damage of that kind of isolation of 6 or 7 years
Yeah,
of
he's been living in a
being
box
isolated.
for like 7 years.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, he's a tough guy. I can tell you that. I've known him since the 80s, and he's one strong motherfucker. So, I mean, it's not that he's going to crack tomorrow and leap off the balcony, but it is a strain even on a strong person to have to go through that. Um, again, the fight continues. We're going to do a mammoth broadcast this weekend. It'll be on the station for those people who are listening on Anonymous Global Internet Radio, but also it'll be all over the web. I'll have it in my timeline and my Twitters. 50 hours. This month's vigil is going to be 50 hours and 50 guests. And not only am I restreaming it on the station, but I am one of the guests. And Susie will probably get pissed at me, but I'm going to go ahead and leak ahead of time that my appearance will be at 10 p 11 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow will be my spot. I guess I think I don't want again. I'm just going to leak it. Fuck it. Susie can get mad at me. But Max Kaiser, for those of you who know, will also be a guest on the vigil this month. But it's 50 hours of broadcasting. God bless Susie and Elizabeth Leah Boss who hold that down. They anchor that in shifts, man. But 50 hours, that's a long fucking broadcast, and 50 guests. And like I said, I'm one of them. I know that Max Kaiser is one of them. I assume that King.com will be back again this month. So a lot of big names, but also a lot of names that you haven't heard of that you should hear about because some of these people are just amazing comedians and philosophers and journalists and from all across the political spectrum. I mean, you've got me. I'm an anarchist. You got Max Kaiser, who's just a fucking freak of nature, but he's amazing. He's awesome. He's hysterical, first of all. If anybody who's ever watched the Max Kaiser show, if he doesn't leave you rolling in the aisles, I mean, you don't have a funny bone. But so it's going to be a great broadcast. It's very well organized. I encourage everybody to tune in. Obviously, there's no human being that can listen to the entire 50 hours, although I have to because I'm here in the station. I got to make sure the streams go out. But um, it's an amazing broadcast. Tune in anytime this weekend, either to the radio station or you can watch. You can actually watch the video stream by going to unity4j.com/stream, and that will take you once it's live. That will take you directly to the video stream. We provide the audio streams for those who maybe just don't want to deal with the video or who are on low bandwidth, who are on mobile, at work, wherever. We provide the audio streams as an alternative uh, to the video stream. A lot like what we do for you.
I gotcha. Um, do you think the president of Ecuador, like I've been hearing, he's been using this as leverage to kind of give Julian the boot, these health issues.
Well, and today there was the news, and I actually prophesied this. If you listen to my radio show 3 weeks ago with Elizabeth Leah Voss, an incredible guest, an incredible journalist, national security journalist. I encourage anybody to follow her on Twitter. It's at Elizabeth Leah Voss, VOS, and she's an amazing. She is one of the co-founders and editors of Disobedient Media, which has been a real brand new, real voice for truth and true journalism out there since they formed in 2016. And I had her on as a guest, and I said a wrong fact. I said that Ecuador had negotiated a military base in Ecuador, and she corrected me. She goes, "No, they've negotiated cooperation, but so far no base." And today it was announced from WikiLeaks, right directly from the WikiLeaks Twitter account, that in fact they are opening up some sort of small facility in Ecuador, and that's been announced today. So, this really fills in a lot of the gaps about what the fuck is going on. This is about money. This is about a lot of money because that brings in a lot of income for that country. It's a very small country. Recently, we saw this week also where they broke a record this week for the largest import of Ecuadorian oil into the U.S. ever, and it's like 5 times more than any time in previous history. This month, that the U.S. has imported 5 times more crude oil from Ecuador. So again, money, and it's all about the fucking money. It's always about the money, isn't it? I mean, we know that. That's what we talk about on the show all the time. But it really is about the money. It's about sticking the nose of Ecuador up the U.S.'s ass, and hopefully they'll fart some dollars their way. And um, that's what President Correa was against. That's what he ran on, and that's why he was elected. The previous president was elected because Ecuador was sick of that shit. He kicked all that shit to the curb. He canceled the grants. He canceled all the bribery and corruption that was going on between the U.S. and Ecuador, and he kicked the U.S. to the curb. And I'm just left scratching my head what the Ecuadorian people were thinking to elect this bozo. And I really think that this is going to be the end for him too. If he turns Julian out of the embassy, I think the Ecuadorian people are going to run him out on the next election. Of course, that won't help Julian, which is that's why we have to keep the pressure on. But
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I had a feeling it was about money.
It always is.
Yeah.
it always is. It's the way of the world. It's when you have an empire. This is why I'm a strong believer in the dissolution of the union. People think that I want to destroy America. That's not at all what I'm about. I love America, but I'm from New England, okay? And I believe, personally advocate for and participate in what's known as Nexit, which is the New England exit movement, which is to take all of New England and secede from the Union and become a separate country. My loyalty is to New England. That's what I feel I'm a part of. If I have any sort of nationalistic tendencies at all, and I don't have much, but if I do, it's to my home. It's to New England, and because I spent most of my adult life in California, there's also a Cal exit movement
Yeah,
to
that's
secede, have California secede from the Union, and I support that. I would gladly go back to a free and sovereign California. I don't want to destroy America, but look at when this federal government shuts down. Look, Trump is threatening to shut it down again. Does anything change? Does your world come to a screeching end? No, because why? Because you have sovereign states, and they're called that already. It's just in name only, but they're already called sovereign states. And you have sovereign tribes for the natives, for the reservations and stuff. And they function and take care of picking up your garbage and making sure that the holes in your asphalt are fixed and shit like that. And everything, life goes on like nothing ever changed. So we have these government shutdowns, these federal government shutdowns all the time, and nothing changes. So why turn it back on then? Why even turn it back on?
Oh no.
Just do away with the union because I don't think people feel American anymore. I think that people feel loyalty to the place where they live, and I think that that's a nationality. I've always thought that the United States government is an artificial, parasitic political entity. And it never should have existed. I don't think it ever needed to exist. You had 13 colonies that turned into 13 sovereign states, and that was just fine. And that's why I'm against the European Union, too. Federalism, and mark my words on this, federalism is always a code word for imperialism. It will always turn into an empire. Smaller is always better. Less power in a nation state is always better. And I just think it's time to start having a conversation about this dissolving the union. I'm not into violent revolution either. I mean, I would do it if I had to, but I think there's a peaceful way to do that through constitutional amendments and votes in,
Well,
in the individual states that want to separate. I think that other states will band together and form new countries. For instance, like New England is not one state, right? But they all want to band together to form a union of their own. I think that the Midwest, where a lot of these Cheeto followers and MAGA believers live, I think they could band together and form their own sort of little country in the Midwest. And I think that California is easily a nation unto itself. It has its own culture already, its own sort of way of doing things. And America hates California. How many people do you hear throughout the whole country? When I was traveling the country, I heard it so many times that people, those aliens, those freaks that live in California, they people already hate Californians and the rest of the country anyway. and California is kind of sick of it. California, places like California and New England are tired of having their votes in a national election for president count for 2/3 of a vote, because that's what the Electoral College does. The Electoral College is essentially a weighting system. And what it does is it weights the votes of the people in the Midwest so that they count for 1 1/4 votes, and it weights them so that people in California and in New England only count for 2/3 of the vote. And that's essentially what it does. It's a mathematical weighting system. Well, why should people in a state like California, which accounts for 1/3 of the national economy, it counts for about 80% of the technological innovations out of Silicon Valley and whatnot of the country, why should their vote count for less than some corn farmer in Nebraska? Now, I'm not denigrating corn farmers in Nebraska. We all need our cornflakes. But to say that they are somehow less important in California than the guy that grows the cornflakes is just fucking wrong. And in the last 20 years, what we've seen is the Electoral College being used as a lever for ultra conservative white presidents to win the presidency even when they lose the popular vote. That's what we're seeing it being leveraged as now. And I don't think this is democracy. This isn't even close to democracy. And I think it's foolish, and I think it's going to continue until people start seriously taking these secessionist movements seriously. And also, my problem with the United States is it's not even federalism anymore, because at least in the European Union you have Article 50. Article 50 allows such as countries like the UK to leave the federation peacefully, to take a vote and leave the federation. There is no Article 50 in the United States. In fact, we would need a constitutional amendment to create an Article 50 in order for the secessionist movements that exist to fulfill their desire to leave. And I just think that's wrong. I think that's keeping people in the country by force. It's like Catalonia in Spain, where there is no mechanism where Catalonia can legally secede under Spanish law. That's wrong. I think anybody should be able to secede from anything, from any country. 10 people on 5 acres of land should be able to form their own nation. That's sort of like what the sovereign people movement in the United States, the free sovereign people movement believes that anybody can start a country. And I think that's absolutely right. I think that's the way it should be. Um,
Oh
They're,
yeah,
they're trying to do away with sovereign citizenship.
oh yeah. They've been trying to get away. They've been trying to stop that for a
Hmm.
while.
And then in a
well, I
big
actually
push to
believe in
the
that. I believe in that. Why,
cashless.
why should why should one person in the UK be called the sovereign? The Queen can like run somebody over in a car and not even have a driver's license and not even go to jail for murdering the person. That's sovereignty. Why can't we all have the same rights that the Queen of England has? Why can't we all be fucking sovereigns? You know what I mean? And so, this is I think there's something to be said. I mean, granted, the sovereign person movement tends to be filled with a lot of right wing nutcases, and that's a sad fact of some of these right wing movements. That I actually believe in them. It's just a sad thing that it actually draws a lot of crazy people, and that's too bad because it takes away from the underlying philosophy, which is actually very sound.
Yeah, I heard. The Calex that came up. That came up recently. Like it's. I think each time it comes up, like when I hear about it, it gets bigger. So
I think so.
people are
I think
definitely.
people are sick and tired of being
Yeah.
well, they're sick and tired of being disenfranchised. Like I said, people in California work just as hard as people in Nebraska, and they don't understand why their votes should count for less. They don't understand why they get they get much less per capita tax dollars out of BC than the state of Nebraska, for instance, does. And so there's a lot of disparities. It's not just about the votes, but it's about the disposition of federal tax dollars, the imposition of federal authority and power in the state of California is much greater. Just all the way around,
Yeah. Not only
Californians are getting sick of it.
not only that, a majority of Californians don't believe in a wall between United States and Mexico. It's
Exactly.
a majority of America.
Exactly.
Yeah, a majority of Californians, like that's just like if you ever been to Los Angeles or San Diego, I mean, you're basically like you walk down the street, you are hearing people speak, multiple language, but predominantly you hear people speak Spanish and English. A lot of people in Southern California, I mean, are from a lot of it from wherever, but I mean, there are a lot of people from South America California, and the majority of Californians don't.
Well, it's
Yeah,
agriculture. It's an agriculture state. When you buy a tomato in the middle of the wintertime in New England, it's coming from fucking California.
yeah,
That's the only place left that can grow during the winter season for the rest of the country. And Californians understand that if it weren't for millions of undocumented agriculture workers in California, your tomatoes would cost $10 a fucking tomato. So those people, undocumented, whatever the fuck that means, okay, should be given documents because basically they're they're fueling the agriculture for the entire country. And this guy in San Francisco one time, to prove a point, he tried something. You know, all this talk about how these people are taking jobs and everything. So he made an offer. He was a millionaire, and he said, "Look," he goes, "I'm a millionaire farmer." He goes, "I will take a bus and I will go to San Francisco." And for every homeless person who gets on that bus to come pick tomatoes at my farm, I will fire one undocumented worker. Not one homeless person in San Francisco got on that bus. Nobody wants to do the shit that these people do for like $5 an hour. Okay, so unless you're ready to pay $100 a basket for strawberries, then you need to figure out that these people are here doing a great job, and they have a far less, like the studies have been done, they have a far less criminality rate than the average citizen because the majority of them that come here are go-getters. They come here because they want a better life, and they're go-getters and they're ready to roll up their sleeves and, like I said, do jobs that Americans wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. And I think America just needs to get over themselves and deal with the fact that these people are an integral part of our society and an integral part of our economy, and and document them. Get over it and document it.
yeah. I would
And
just
that's what California would do if it were to secede. I mean, that's exactly what they would do. They would document them and find a place for them in Californian society.
yeah. I mean, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes, especially that comes out of this the federal government now that is, like it's out of touch. It's out of touch with a lot with what Americans are thinking. The core values
Well, I
are.
think it always has been. Like I said, I believe from the very beginning, from the get-go, when they formed the Constitution of the United States, I believe that it was an artificial and parasitic political entity that never needed to exist. It had no purpose other than to consolidate the power of a handful of rich oligarchs in America, and that was from the day one. That's going back to the Revolutionary War. Was the purpose of this entity called the USA, the United States of America. And again, I'm not against America. I'm not against the people in that country. I'm a part of that country. But the government of the USA, people need to understand they're being patriotic to something that is sucking them dry, that serves no purpose whatsoever. I mean, what do Californians have in common with people who live in Mississippi? There's no common culture. There's nothing. There's no commonality there whatsoever. There is no nation of the United States of America. It's just the only thing they have in common is the flag that flies over their post offices. And I just think it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, and it's crushing the free will and the freedoms of the Americans across the entire country. I think people should be free to federate and confederate with those that they choose to. Like I said, the people in the Midwest, they have something in common. Let them form a federation of their states. The people in California have a lot in common with Oregon and Washington. They would probably form a federation. The people in New England would form a federation. Um, let people make their own countries out of what they have in common in their spirits and in their souls and in their minds, and rather than impose this imperialistic thing that you can't even get out of, you can't even leave it. It's like the fucking mafia, right? I mean, once you become a state, it's the union is indissoluble. Well, fuck you on that. You know what I mean? Nothing's indissoluble. And I think that if they don't make a constitutional amendment, this is my prediction. If they don't, you're going to have a revolutionary war. You're going to have people stand up and say, "Well, okay, if I can't leave politically, if I can't vote to get out of this trap, then I'm going to pick up a gun and I'm going to fight. I'm going to die standing in my boots." And I think that's where the United States is heading because people have just had enough. I
Possibly.
mean, they've just had enough.
Oh, go ahead, Terrence.
3D printed gun.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. That's just one of many equalizers, and that's something the internet has brought to us. This is why we're in a whole different day and age, because the internet really is the ultimate great equalizer. These 3D printed guns are just a part and a component of that. But the freedom of information, the ease of organization, the ease of communication, all of this has made people so much more powerful than they were when this union was formed. And I think that they're barking up the wrong tree. Um, the people now can overthrow governments. Egypt was the shining example that Anonymous itself was involved in the Egyptian revolution, and it was the first time really that people in the West had seen people rise up on their own and take down their own government. And I think that that's going to be an object lesson. The Arab Spring is going to be an object lesson that's going to resonate for some time. The internet is very empowering. Yes, it's a double-edged sword. I get that, but I think it gives us far more power than it gives these governments, and especially with encryption, where we can protect ourselves with simple math. I think that things are going to change. I think these old empires, and this is not just the USA. I believe the same about China. I'm a strong believer in the Tibetan movement to restore sovereignty to
Oh yeah,
Tibet. I'm
free. Yeah,
a
the free.
strong believer in the Palestinian
Yeah.
movement to restore sovereignty to Palestine. So it's not, Russia with the Chechnya issue. I think that the internet is going to empower these movements to be more and more successful. I think we're going to see in the next 20 to 50 years, God willing, we all live long enough to see it. But in the next 20 to 50 years, we're going to see the beginning of the dissolution, not only of the U.S. empire, but of all of these big empires. People are going to take back their power. They're going to form their own communities, their own nations, the way they want to, along the borders that they choose, and run those countries the way they see fit. And I think that the internet is what's going to empower that. I think it's the greatest innovation humankind has ever developed to date so far. It's one of the reasons I'm part of Anonymous, because Anonymous is a defender of it, a defender of the internet. And so I really kind of almost the ultimate defender of it, at least right now. So that's why I believe in, despite all the fuckery that goes on in Anonymous in the West, I'm still a strong believer in the global collective because I just see it as the ultimate vanguard of internet freedom, the freedom of the internet to exist and people to connect to it.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, there are a lot of things happened in the Arab Spring. Like when Egypt turned off. Remember when they turned off the internet? Uh, we had engineers.
We went back
Yeah,
in and turned it on.
we had
We
engineers
went
like
back in and
turn
turned
it
it
on.
on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and so that's why I say I'll always be a believer in Anonymous because that one core principle. And to me, people talk about the rules of Anonymous all the time. Well, that's bullshit. That's just whatever you believe, okay? But the one guiding principle, the one principle that I think almost everybody universally in Anonymous agrees with and believes in is the idea that the internet should be free and everybody should have access to it. And for me, that's really my guiding light, and it's why my heart will always beat in tune with Anonymous, because I think that ultimately it comes back to that. It always comes back around to that one guiding principle. I see us almost as the knights of the internet, and we've kind of lost our way in the West a little bit. But I'm a big uh, believer in people looking at the global perspective. Down here in Latin America, Anonymous is very strong. You don't see the infighting down here. You don't see that kind of fuckery. What you see is a very powerful movements that are so strong that they are an integral part of the political and social order of Latin America. I mean, I encourage people to look up the Twitter accounts of anonymous cells like Anonymous Mexico, Anonymous Venezuela, Anonymous Honduras, Anonymous Nicaragua. What you will find is they have more followers, first of all, hundreds of thousands of more followers than any Anon account in the USA besides maybe Yan, which isn't really an Anon account anymore. It's some sort of commercial fuckery. But I mean, other than that, you look at these global cells, especially in Latin America, and they have more followers, more supporters, and they are making a difference, a serious difference in the individual social orders of their nations. And if people would step outside their blinders, step outside this parochial view that Anonymous is just the fuckery that goes on in the US and UK and Canada, and look beyond that and see the global collective that we started 10 years ago, with just a handful of people, and see how it has grown, it takes your breath away. I mean, you're talking on the list that you sent me today of things to talk about, the Million Mask March. Okay, let's talk about the million. Let's talk about the history of it. Okay, 2013, they had 4,000 people at Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
They had 10,000 people at Trafalgar Square, which is kind of right. That's the heartbeat of it, right? That's where that scene from the movie of Beef and Vendetta
Yeah,
took
yeah. When
place,
they
right?
have the
So that's
first
kind of the
yeah,
heart of it.
yeah.
That's kind of the heart of it, right? Guess how many they had in Manila?
Oh, there was a lot. Yeah,
150,000.
yeah.
Okay, in Manila, Philippines, 150,000 mask wearing motherfuckers out there for the Million Mask March. They had 75,000 in Venezuela. Okay, far outnumbering just the Philippines alone. The Manila Million Mask March of 2013 outnumbered all the Western Million Mask Marches put together. Okay, so don't tell me that Anonymous is dead because of the fuckery. It's dead in the West because of the fuckery, and that's sad for people who live in the U.S. Okay, that Anonymous is no longer a force to be reckoned with. Excuse me. However, when you look at the global perspective, Anonymous is far from fucking dead. It's got millions of people involved. It is strongest in places that are where there's heavy disenfranchisement. You look at Africa, the Middle East, Turkey and Greece, again, the Philippines, Latin America,
The Middle
any
East.
place where you
Yeah.
have a large numbers of people who are disenfranchised, you have huge, strong anonymous presences that and most of these people in these places haven't even fucking heard of 4chan and could care less. And why should they? Because Anonymous isn't 4chan anymore. Anonymous is a revolutionary movement to change the world by using and wielding, weaponizing, if you will, the internet against the powers that be. And that's how that's the Anonymous that was given to them, and that's the Anonymous they believe in. And they could give two fucks about trolls, haters, 4chan, or any of that fucking shit. And so, it just to me, that's the Anonymous I work for. That's the Anonymous I interface with every day. I deal with people from all over Latin America, Africa, Asia, that are anons that are doing incredible work that people don't even hear about. And the only time you can really see that is when we have the Million Mask March. And then, you start naming off all the cities. In 2014, for instance, there were 600 cities and an estimated 2 million participants in 600 cities around the world. So how can anybody claim that Anonymous is dead when you've got hundreds of cities marching with a million plus people every year? Um, and hopefully that Million Mass March, that's why I think it's important, because it helps to rip those parochial blinders off that Anons have in the West, that it's all about them. Anonymous is broken because it's broken for me, but it's not. It's sad that it's broken for you, so work to fix that shit, but it's not broken. There's nothing wrong with Anonymous. It's working just fine.
So speaking of, I got a few people asking about locations for the Million Mask March this year. Some are already out for London, some are already out for Amsterdam,
I can name
Florida.
name some places right now. There's of course there's DC. There's
Well, in
Chicago.
days past,
Yeah.
it's sad that we've lost again, it's sad because of the fuckery in the West, okay? Because one of the things that we did in 2013, 2014, and 2015, which those were really the three biggest ones, with the biggest one being 2014. Um, and what we did every year is we had millionmaskmarch.com, and we would encourage all the cities that were marching to put pins on a map, okay, so that first of all we could find them, and then we would diligently follow the media reports, and we would input the numbers, the estimated numbers in all these cities, actually trying to show that we had a million people out there. And this was a wonderful project that, I mean, I've thought about trying to do it, but I'm just so fucking busy. I'm about to enter negotiations with the Mexican government for my asylum. I'm just really tied up right now, and it sucks that nobody else has sort of taken the lead in doing that. But if somebody out there is listening to the show and you have some technical savvy, register a domain name, There's a couple of great sites that you can use that will produce free maps for you. They use Google Maps, but they also have an interface so you can put all the pins in and input all the numbers, and it's free. I've looked it up myself for the purpose of thinking I might try to do it, but again, I can't. But if somebody will take the lead in doing that, it's pretty simple. And then you put it out there, and people like myself and Mark and Tyler especially, who have such incredible followings on Twitter, you start blasting that map out and encouraging everybody who's having a march. And it's important to understand the principle behind the Million Mask March. And here's the basic underlying principle. And this was set down in stone all the way back in 2012 and 2013 when we began to first develop the idea. The Million Mask March is a simple concept. You gather at the nearest, biggest seat of power that you can get to, seat of government that you can get to, with a mask. And so if you're poor and you live in bumfuck Ohio with a population of 120 and you can't go anywhere, then you go to your local police station or your local town hall, and you might be the only one there, but fuck it. You stand there, you wear your mask, you take a fucking selfie, and you tweet that shit. And you are the Million Mask March for that little town. And if you can get to your state capital, that's good too. That's even bigger and better. Go to your state capital, and there'll be masks there. I guarantee. In every state in the United States, there'll be masks at your state capital. So you go to your seat of power, the biggest one that you can get to, and you wear a mask in front of the seat of government. And it's really, the concept is that simple. So anybody can do a Million Mask March. I love the ones that are in bumfuck Ohio with population 120. That is just so cool to see some brave ass motherfucker standing there in front of his town hall all by himself with a damn mask on. And so that's the idea. The Million Mask March idea is very, very simple concept in it at its core. It's just go wear a mask at the biggest seat of government that you can get to. And if you can get to the nation's capital, the DC, all the better. You know what I mean? But that's the idea behind it. And so anybody can do one anywhere in the frickin' world. And that's what makes the Million Mask March have 1 million people in it. Because it's not the big cities. It's not just the big cities. It's everybody in every little town in America, every little town around the world, really, um, gathering in a mask at their seat of power. And the only purpose is just to let them know we exist. I have a video that I'll put out, Tyler, and I'll send it to you that we produced for the Million Mask March in 2015, and it's the best Million Mask March video I've ever seen. And we talk about that in there about how it's a chance to celebrate how we're growing every year, a chance to celebrate our existence. You know, I mean, we work hard for people all over the world every day of the year. We deserve one day where we just celebrate us. You know, that's fine. There's no problem with that. So it's a chance to celebrate Anonymous, and it's a chance to show these governments that we're still fucking here. We still exist. We're not going anywhere, and we'll be back. You can expect us. And so I think the Million Mask March is an incredibly important and vital part of what Anonymous is and what it does. So I encourage everybody to be a part of the Million Mask March. And if anybody can organize on a global level like we used to with a global map and with a website that lists all the cities and the amount of people in it, that's the way we used to do it. If somebody can pull that together, I will support it. I'll do my best to put it out there. We'll be broadcasting on the radio station, and I'll try to put as many numbers out there as I can find. List the cities that I can find in the news and put the numbers out there for people. But if it could be done in a more coordinated fashion, I think that really adds to the flavor of the Million Mask March, and that hasn't happened in the last couple of years. So that's something that somebody out there listening, maybe with some. It doesn't take much tech skill at all. If you can build a website and integrate some free mapping tools, you can do this, and it's a big help. It's a
Yeah,
big help.
yeah. I feel like we do need another like You know the story behind millionmaskmarch.com. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it, but I think we do need another website. You know what I mean? Because of that whole drama that happened with
Yeah,
the
and
owner. With the owner, yeah,
it's easy to do. Anybody can, we don't, nobody's official. MillionMaskMarch.com wasn't official. They just did it good for a couple of years. That's why they carried the load and did the task. But, anybody can do this. I looked it up. You can use free mapping tools. It doesn't cost you any money. Why do you think all my domains are .cf? Because the fucking things are free. And so, you can register a free domain, get a free goddamn web server, and get some free tools, and it don't cost you anything but your time, really, to do this shit. So, one thing about the internet that I'm a big believer in is everything out there is free. Just Google that shit up. You'd be surprised the shit that's actually free out there, the high technology platforms and tools that are free. So, you don't have to spend even a dime out of your pocket to make that happen. It's just a matter of rolling up your sleeves and getting it done. And I would do it this year. I swear to God I would, but I'm just friggin' swamped. So
There seems to be one already on Facebook, but I don't have access to Facebook.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
another
see,
thing
that's
I
a
have to
fucking
tell
piss
Anons.
poor fucking choice, place to put it. I mean,
Anons, please, if you
sorry, but
guys are planning your Million Mask marches and putting
Don't do it
events,
on
yeah,
Facebook.
take them off Facebook, please. They will disappear. Like we had Million Mask March Netherlands. That was an that one accidentally disappeared.
Last year, year before
That
last.
was a keystroke error. But we had God, all across the United States, people were losing accounts because most Anons don't have real accounts. So if you're an Anon and you have an event on Facebook, please take them off Facebook and try and put them on another platform where you won't get your shit erased by an algorithm. You know.
Pay spin, go spin. Put it in a paste site, so it's there. Copy and
if you
paste
give
it.
it to
Put it in
Twitter
paste.
accounts again, Mark and Tyler between the two of them have something like fucking 50 odd thousand followers. I've only got about 10, but I mean, if you give them out to other anons, especially these ones with big Twitter accounts, it goes viral. You'll get that shit out there. You don't need to put it on Facebook to get the coverage and to get the views. For now, Twitter works fine, and I'm really delighted that Kim.com has decided to build an alternative to Twitter because I think that we've all tried the different alternatives. Quitter, for instance, is one that people have looked at as an alternative to Twitter, but it's never going to take off, and the reason is that nobody goes there. But Kim made an important point when he announced that he's doing this Twitter alternative, and that is every service he's ever put out there has had 100 million people subscribe to it. So um, I think Kim is the one person in the world who could unite us to move us off the platform of Twitter and move us onto something that's censorship free and open to activism and whatnot. So I think there's hope, but for now Twitter's fine. It's at least a viable alternative to Facebook. But you can get it out there without using Facebook. I've actually come to the decision to finally delete my Facebook. I wish Mark were here this week. He'd be delighted. But I'm finally going to do it. I'm gonna bite the bullet, delete my Facebook page. But I'm going to do a radio show. As you guys know, I have my own weekly radio show.
Mhm.
So I'm actually going to do it live on the air and make a big deal out of it. Try to get as much. Yeah, I'm going to do it live on the air and give instructions and have talk about why it's important as I do it. And I just think that that's sort of the way to go for me. So I'm kind of holding out because I've been kind of booked with really important guests on my radio show. So I'm just kind of waiting until I have a free week to do a show on Facebook. But but I have made the decision. I am deleting Facebook. Just a matter of time,
Yeah,
and
the only
I think it's the way to go.
yeah, as far as Facebook, I only keep one account open to broadcast, but I don't even use it. Like I literally go to back to Facebook and I cringe. Like, why the fuck was it? Like, what? Like, it's not good. It's not fun anymore. I can't even
Yeah.
I can't even use their video carousel like I used to, without seeing a bunch of fucking ads. You know?
Hmm.
Well, for me, the censorship issue is the big one. I mean, I understand about the data collection, but anybody with half a brain in their head knows that they have an Onion site, and if you use, that's the only way I access now is directly through the Onion site, the Facebook Onion. Um, there's nobody can convince me they can collect shit from me there. The data collection thing, I understand it. I understand it. It is an important issue, but every site you go to nowadays collects data on you. If you don't want that, then you access it through the Onion or you access it through a Tor browser. To me, the big issue is the censorship issue. Censoring Palestinian activists, for instance, censoring Tibetan activists because China demands it. Um, the fact that that Google, places like Google and Facebook will kowtow to dictatorships in places like China and Asia and Russia in order to just keep doing business there, and they'll censor people in those countries. That's just unacceptable to me. And we need an alternative that will be truly censorship free, which means they don't listen to any nation state. They listen to their users. They listen to their people, and that's what matters to them. And I really believe until somebody like Kim.com comes along and does that for us, we're not going to have that. It's just every place is just so into making money nowadays that they could give a fuck about us. We are commercial. I was explaining to my sister the other day. She's only got a few hundred Twitter followers, and she's like, I don't understand. I got banned from Twitter for a week, and my tweet was completely innocuous tweet. It was just something she said to POTUS. She tweeted at the president, and it wasn't a threat. It wasn't even mean spirited, in fact. And she tweeted at him, got suspended for a week. And I tweet out a direct threat to the nation of Ecuador and to the President Lenin. I tweet out a direct threat, and I don't get shut down. What's the difference between us two? I've got 8,900 followers, and she's got 300. And so I am a commodity. And so the algorithm is stronger for me. You have to I have to violate harder, in other words, to get the algorithm to kick me out than she does. And so I am literally a product to Twitter because I have that many followers and I have 115,000 tweets in 5 years and shit like that. The algorithm judges me to be more commercially valuable, and so therefore I can get away with more. And this is just part and parcel of the unfairness of the way these social media platforms are run. And we need to break out of that. We need to break into a system that is run. I understand that people got to make money. You got to pay for servers and shit. There's always going to be advertising on these sites, but it doesn't need to be they don't need to make you, the end user, a commodity to do that. I don't believe. I believe there's a way to make a profit and still allow people to be free and allow everybody to be equal and be censorship free. Hopefully Kim will do it for us. I don't know. We'll see.
I think I
See what
honestly
he's coming up with.
I
He's
think
cooking something up, that's for sure. He's pretty adamant about it.
I'm pretty sure Kim, if Kim, Kim, whatever Kim does, it does pretty well. I think he can. He has what he has the YouTube followers plus the Twitter followers, and then whatever social media he's connected to. Um, I'm pretty sure he can pull it up. I thought he was doing an ICO also. I thought he was doing his own
Well, he was
cryptocurrency.
asking for
Yeah.
investors. I don't know if he'll go public with it. You can invest in a company that isn't a public company. Private people can just get together and throw a few $1 million together and do this thing. I think Kim's got enough millionaire friends that he'll make that happen. To be honest with you, I'm kind of antsy about any sort of like actual public corporation, and I would hope that Kim wouldn't do that. To be honest with you, I'd rather have Kim remain a dictator over the thing. I have a fair amount of trust in Kim. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that it's 100%, but it's pretty close. I mean, I have a fair amount of trust in him, and I think that if he did it, I think one thing that I like about Kim is he's got the star power to draw in 100 million users, and so we would be able to keep our audiences. You know what I mean? Everybody would go, and we'd be able to keep our audiences. I think the one thing that makes me not want to go to a service like Twitter, and I have a Twitter account. I never tweet on the Twitter account, but I have a Twitter account, and I've always hoped that it would go off and everybody would move over to Twitter. But nobody's gonna. I mean, let's face it. It's just this weird sort of unknown alternative to Twitter that hardly anybody's on, and so I really think that that's part of it for me is I need to, I won't lie. It's part of what I do as an anon. I need Twitter. I mean, it's that simple. Um, I've never been a big user of Facebook for my propaganda and for my stuff that I put out. So Facebook doesn't really matter to me. It's disposable. But I have to say that Twitter really isn't, and that sucks. I don't like having somebody have me by the nuts like that, especially when they treat me like shit, like Twitter does. So
Yeah,
it would be nice to
yeah,
see Kim do an alternative.
yeah, the Twitter's literally to the point where if somebody is harassing you and you report them, they'll delete. I mean, the admins or whoever reviews the content is retarded and delete you, and the aggressor will still be on there. You know.
Well, we've been going through, I don't know, Tyler, you've sort of been following a little bit of I know it's kind of drama, and I don't want to bring drama onto the show. It's a personal drama, but my sister and myself, but in particular my sister, because it really doesn't bother me, but it really does bother her. And there's been this account that has been stalking us both for years, and he loves to send rape threats. He threatened, that we've been screenshotting all this shit where
Yeah.
he sends threats to dismember her, to kidnap her and dismember her, to rape her, to dismember our dog. Um, and it's really graphic shit. I mean, it's really fucking horrific fucking shit. And we've tried to do our own little personal campaigns using my account, which has a fair amount of followers, and I got a decent amount of friends out there. We've tried to have people go out and report this guy, and he's had dozens and dozens of reports against him. Nothing. All the threat tweets and all the graphic, brutal threats, they're all still hanging there in his timeline. The guy that is like bulletproof. And we've tried for months, for almost a year now, to get this guy suspended because the account exists for no other reason. If you go there, there's 80 tweets in his timeline, and one follower who's a hater of mine, and and and, and every single one of them is a tweet at either me or my sister. And like I said, with these really graphic threats and shit like that, the account exists for no other reason. This isn't a personal account that the guy just has a grudge against me and he goes out and does other stuff. This account exists for no other reason than to stalk me and my sister and send these brutal, awful, graphic threats to us. And the week that we started the campaign, which is last week, we started the campaign to get this guy off again because he'd sent another series of really graphic threats. And instead, they didn't touch this guy. Instead, they suspended my sister's account for a week.
Yeah, that's typical.
The victim,
Yeah.
the victim of this, and this is a crime. Okay, let's be totally real about this. To say that you're going to kidnap somebody and cut them up piece by piece after you rape them, okay, that's a crime. That's not just
Communication of
trolling
threats.
somebody. Okay, that's a fucking crime.
Well, yeah, there's laws in
And-
America.
and-
There's laws in America against stuff like that. Yeah.
And so why is this guy not being turned over to the friggin' feds then? Why
He hasn't
are
done
they
anything.
instead? You look at my sister's account, and it's what you would expect from a female anon. I mean, it's nice stuff. It's like puppies and mixed in with activism. I mean, it's the most innocent fucking account out there. Okay, I mean, she never tweets. I mean, you look at my account. Jesus Christ, I tweet angry fucking threats at governments all the fucking time. I mean, my account is one of the angriest accounts out there. And like I said, I'm bulletproof. Why? Because I got 115,000 tweets and I got 8,900 followers. So I'm a commercial commodity. They won't suspend me, but they suspend her when she's literally a victim of Twitter stalking. And it just, to me, it's just fucking ridiculous what Twitter has become. It's basically become a campground for pedophiles and stalkers, and they get all the rights, they get all the ability to stay on the platform, whereas people like my sister, who's trying to do some good in the world, trying to put out some good stuff. And again, I encourage anybody to go to her Twitter account. I'm not going to say it out on the air because it might just draw in more friggin' haters, but it's not hard to find. I retweet her all the time, and so I think that you could find my sister's Twitter account pretty easily by following me. And I encourage you to take a look at her friggin' timeline, man. Like I said, it's activism mixed in with puppies, for Christ's sakes, and it's one of the most innocent accounts out there. And it's a great account. I mean, I think I love looking at my sister's tweets. I guess maybe I'm probably biased, but I mean, I love her account, and I think it's a shame that she's been shut down for a week. She finally gets off groundament, as she calls it, tomorrow, so you can expect her back
Twitter jail.
out there. I imagine she will finally be pretty angry. You know what I mean? There might be some angry tweets when she gets back on, but I think it's just fucked up. Twitter is just so fucking twisted now, and it wasn't always like this. Back in the day when we all first started hanging out on Twitter, you could say whatever the fuck you wanted, man, and we used to hang out and party all night. It used to be truly social media where all the timelines were actually talking to each other. Now it's all siloed. Everybody's had to block all the trolls and everything, so the whole thing has become very siloed, and nobody dares to actually speak to each other. Now we just sort of, we use it to get news and to put out our information, but it's nothing like it was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where it was a lot of fun. I used to love to get drunk and tweet on Saturday night. I mean, that was like my favorite thing
Now you can't do that.
was to get bombed and get on Twitter on a Saturday night and talk shit. And now shit, you don't even dare to. you'll get your account fucking jacked from you if you say the wrong thing.
Or you
know?
lose your job because of your
I mean,
tweets.
yeah, and lately they've been doing this weird thing too lately where they go through. Like the other night at 3 in the morning, I started getting locked out of my account one after another. I started seeing the emails come in, and it was over the word cunt. And I'm not shitting you. They scanned back all the way 10 years back to the day I started my account, and they made me delete every tweet where I used the word cunt. So, like, even for instance, like, there was a couple of them that I admit I was sort of ashamed of, and I was glad to delete them because I was angry or something, and I was glad to have them gone out of my timeline. But there were some, like, for instance, I called Bashar Assad a cunt and said he should be skinned alive, and they made
Ooh.
me delete the tweet. Now, why is that a bad tweet? You know what I mean? I'm saying I'm not entitled to my freedom of speech. The dude's a mass murderer, for Christ's sake. Everybody agrees on that. So what's wrong with calling him a cunt and saying he should be? And then the other one that happened the day before that at 3 in the morning. You must run the scanners then and do this shit because there's no way they could do it manually. It was the word retard. I'm not kidding you. They made me delete, and I've only used the word. Apparently, I've only used the word 5 times in 10 years. I've used the word either retard or retarded, in my tweets, and they made me go through one by one and delete every tweet that I've made in the last 10 years with the word retarded in it. Now, how politically correct do you got to be? I mean, that's just fucking retarded.
It's
I'm
censorship.
Sounds
It's,
like
sorry.
Facebook.
it's censorship to the
Yeah,
highest degree.
exactly. Exactly. They've gone nuts. They've really gone mental. Since the 2016 election, Twitter has lost their fucking minds.
Or
And,
There's
I
you know,
actually don't. Uh, you know, I just heard. Never mind. What was I gonna say? Yeah, because these, these Remember the drunk programmer that was doing the algorithms? The one that James O'Keefe had busted. He had some like really hot chick. Meet one of the Twitter programmers, and kind of explain their algorithms. I'm wondering like what's going on in their head when they're programming these algorithms that are damaging free speech in general, like.
their fucking paycheck. Their paycheck.
Yeah.
It's again what we talked about at the
just
top of
doing
the
their
show. It's
job.
all fucking money. It's all about the damn money. You pay a person enough money and they'll do fucking anything. Most people. Most people. Because I'll tell you that I have refused at least 2 dozen jobs for technology companies that have come to me in my inbox throughout the last 10 years because of my high profile. And I won't work for a company. I've made that clear. I would rather fucking starve. I'd rather fish food out of dumpsters than to work for any of these companies. So not all of us can be bought. I'll make my money off my books. I like writing, and I'm going to write a ton more books unless I die. I'm going to keep writing books, and I like being an author. I didn't know if I would, but I like it, and I think it's a good, honest way to make a living. It's hard to sell a book. It's hard to write a book. If anybody thinks it's easy, go out there and try it. But I would rather starve, and I do sometimes. Because of my principles, I do. I mean, I'm not a rich man. There's weeks where I survive off ramen noodles, but um, I'd rather survive off ramen noodles. But it's all about the money. I mean, these coders are out there, taking a paycheck, and they'll do fucking anything. And I think that that's sad. I think that's a sorry state of affairs in geekdom, that we have geeks out there writing this code for these fuckers. And so that's why. I mean they'll always be able to get good coders because they got shit tons of money. And it's that simple.
Jack, what are you thinking? He's probably not listening to this, but.
No, I fucking seriously doubt Jack is tuned in. I mean, the one time when I actually had Jack's here was Ferguson when we had the Op Ferguson account with 77,000 followers. Really we got those followers in a week, which is kind of unprecedented. I don't know of any Twitter account in anonymous that garnered 77,000 followers within the first week it was activated. And Jack was one of our followers, and he marched at Ferguson. And for a minute, for like a second, I had his ear. And at the time, he seemed kind of cool. He protected our account from getting it suspended. He raised our limit. Like for instance, people don't know this who don't tweet voraciously, but you're limited to 250 tweets a day. Very few people actually ever find that out because nobody actually tweets 250 tweets. But during Ferguson, we were tweeting an average of 500 tweets a day. Um, Check that out, right? It's a lot of fucking tweets. And so he raised our limit for us. And, I had a direct line to him. I could DM him and stuff like that. So for a brief moment during Ferguson, I actually had Jack's ear. And like I said, he treated us cool because he believed in that particular thing. But, I mean, it's very disappointing to find out that he's just such a friggin' asshole and such a tyrant. That he can't bear free speech. And I want to say something that's very controversial, too. To a certain degree, there's a lot of snowflake anons and snowflake activists out there who have really brought this on themselves. Um, the idea that you want to go out and get white supremacist and Nazi accounts pulled off Twitter, if they're tweeting direct violence, okay, I get that. Okay, if they're out there tweeting violence, but people are out there advocating to have accounts yanked, what's his name, the Jones guy from Infowars or
Oh,
whatever. I'm just
Alex,
using that
yeah.
as an example. I'm not advocating for this guy. Okay, I think he's a fucking knucklehead. But to advocate to pull people's Twitter account down because they say shit that you don't agree with is a double-edged sword. It's going to come back to haunt you, and it has come back to haunt us. And as far as these white supremacists go, I'm not in favor of taking their Twitter accounts or their websites down because it thwarts Antifa. It does not help Antifa, okay? Because the reason that Antifa is so successful since 2016 is because these cockroaches have come out from underneath the refrigerator and come out into the light. And they organize these marches where you can go punch them in the face, which I think is a good thing, okay? They organize these marches on Twitter and on Facebook and on websites. And so if you take that away from them, where are these fuckers going to go? They're going to go back under the refrigerator again. I like my cockroaches in a big pile out in the light. That way you can step on them, okay? And so, again, people who advocate the censorship of anybody else need to think carefully. Now, again, I have boundaries too. I have lines in the sand. And my line in the sand is direct threats of violence. So I think anybody who does that has whatever they have coming to them, whether we censor them by taking them offline or whether the companies that own these platforms do. I think I'm okay with that. But I think in general, it's become way too widespread. This idea that you're going to list hundreds of Twitter accounts that are right wing nationalist Twitter accounts. Now, again, these fuckers are cockroaches. I agree with that. But it's a double edged sword. Once you agree to silence them, then they can label you a radical as well and silence you or silence Antifa, who, let's face it, is a violent movement. Punching a Nazi in the face is violence. It's advocating
Well,
violence.
yeah,
So
Antifa. Yeah. There's many acts.
and I agree with Antifa. I'm not saying I don't. I would, if I had the opportunity and I saw a Nazi, I would punch him. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's just life. It's not about your rights anymore. If you insult my girlfriend in a bar, okay, I'm going to punch you in the face. And that's not about your free speech, it's personal. And that's the way I feel about Nazis who advocate harming minorities and advocate the bullshit that they advocate. It's not about your rights, it's personal at that point. I'm willing to go to jail for the right to punch you in the face. So, I believe in the Antifa movement in general. But what I don't agree with is this idea that, and especially anons who are going to spearhead this idea of going out and ripping massive numbers of Twitter accounts by getting them reported and ripping them offline because it's a censorship that's going to come back on you. They can use that against you, and B, I think it's antithetical to the strategy of drawing these Nazis out into the streets. I think that these Nazis marching in the streets is a good thing. It's a good thing, and I'll tell you why. It's a good thing for America and for the world to see how many of these fuckers there actually are. Because for years, and especially in Ferguson, we tried to tell people that this isn't bad apples, okay? There are millions and millions of white people who believe in racist Nazi fucking shit. And they're in the closet, but they're out there and they're cops, they're school teachers, they're whatever. And we did a lot in Ferguson to try to expose that they're everywhere in every walk of life. But now we're seeing it for real where you can't deny. When you've got thousands of people in a Nazi march, with all their Czech flags and their Nazi flags and their Confederate flags and shit like that. Then there's no denying it anymore that these people aren't just a few bad apples. That there are shit tons of these people out there, and that they are Trump's base. These are the people who got this Cheeto dude elected to president, and so. Um, I think it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing for people to finally have to face the fact that America has a big problem with endemics of racism, misogyny, and racism in the United States of America. So, and then, like again, I said the other reason, we bring them out and then we can confront them. Then we can make our own march that confronts them, and that may turn to violence. It may not, whatever. But at least they're out there in the streets, and we can form our own march to show them and to show the world that we are the majority. That good people who do not believe in that bullshit outnumber the bad people who do. And so I really think that this is a healthy thing for America because it wasn't healthy. We learned that in Ferguson. It wasn't healthy the other way around because we couldn't get people to believe us that there were that many of them. We could not confront these people. They would come out of the shadows and attack our activists and assassinate our activists, even. They killed a couple of Ferguson activists. The KKK did. They shot them in the streets and then slithered right back under the refrigerator again, like the cockroaches they are. And that's hard to confront. That's hard to get people to believe in, and that's hard to confront. I think this way is so much more honest and open and better, and hopefully in the long run healthier for the republic to have that shit out in the open. And like again, the key way that these people organize that shit and get out in the streets is through Twitter and through their Facebook. So let them keep their accounts. Just watch them and retweet them. Let people see the fucking horrible shit that they tweet. I retweet Nazis all the time. Doesn't mean I advocate for them. It means I'm trying to get people to see, look at how fucked up these people are, you know? And so I just think that, anons especially and information activists in general, the whole idea is freedom of information. That's really the important part of this. And, that means freedom of all information. That includes where the Nazis are, where, what they're saying, what they're doing. And if we rip all their accounts offline, we can't do that. So.
Yeah, but you are aware that you know as I do that Antifa is are communist, right?
I really don't know that for a fact, and I actually just don't give a shit. To me, the only key thing that matters is punching Nazis in the face.
I
I
got
mean,
you.
it really is all about that. I really could care less. They bring out the numbers. They got balls. It's not a. If anybody thinks it's an easy thing to do to get out there and confront these big, fucking steroid taking, fucking white racists, it's not. That takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage. I don't know. I don't know what's smear and what's truth to any of the shit that's said about Antifa. But I know that I support the movement. I am not particularly a communist, but guess what? Red Hack from Turkey, that incredible hacker group that's such movie stars of hacktivism in Turkey, Red Hack, they're communists, and I dealt with them. And they did some wonderful work. I mean, erasing the electric bill of every single person in Turkey and erasing the backups
That's a
so
good
that
hack.
literally two yeah, it was the greatest hack ever, and we helped them to push it out in 2012. They came to us. My crew worked very, very close with Red Hack. We had a wonderful, personal, deep relationship between my crew, my personal crew, and Red Hack. And I won't say a bad word about them. And yes, they're communists. The name is obvious. Red Hack. Okay, they're communists. I don't give a shit what their political fucking aspirations are. What I give a shit about is what people do. You know what I mean? What people say and what people do. And Red Hack worked for the people. Um, and that's what I look at. I'm an anarchist, so I'm not going to agree with anybody of any political spectrum except for other anarchists. I mean, if I'm going to go by that, then the only people I'm going to hang out with are crypto anarchists, right? Because they're the only ones who believe exactly what I believe. Well, that's just fucking stupid. And to me, that's a stupid way, especially if you're trying to change the world. You know what I mean? That's a stupid way to approach things. Um, you look at what people do. You look at the product. What do they produce? Okay, and punching again. Antifa produces Nazis getting punched in the face, and I'm all for that.
So I support it. Um, I don't know what their political aspirations are. I'll be honest with you, I haven't really studied. I mean, maybe they are communist. Maybe they are. Maybe I doubt all of them are. I seriously doubt that because I've got several friends who are part of Antifa who are the furthest thing from communists. So I think if you try to label an entire movement like that, I think it's definitely a smear. Whether or not there's some core of people that are communists, I don't know, and I really don't think it matters. No more than I don't know your political aspirations, Tyler.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know what political, if any, I don't know what they are, and I don't want to know.
I
I don't
got you.
give a shit. I come on this show because you guys. I come on this show because you guys are great hosts. Who is the name of the fellow? I'm missing him this week because I haven't heard his voice, but I love him to death. Preston, I think his name is.
Yeah, he's
Is
not.
it
Yeah, he's not.
Preston?
He's
The
not
man
here
with
He's
the
not
tonight.
deep,
here.
the deep voice and the conservative. I love that cat, man. And I don't believe anything that he believes in. I'm certain of it. Okay? But I love him. Why? Because he's a great radio host, man. He does good radio. And that's what I'm here for. I'm on the show because your show is a great radio show. I asked to become a part of this panel because I love every one of the hosts. And I think that the combination of you guys together make for good radio. I love radio. Radio is my life. I've been doing internet radio since 2000, and I've been doing regular radio. I started in 1985 at Free Radio Santa Cruz. And I love radio, and I know good radio when I hear it, and I like being a part of good radio. So to me, I came on this show not because of what you guys believe or any particular political aspiration of any of the hosts. I came on here because of the product. Okay. And so if we look at people like that as activists, if we look at each other like that, and then we can stop siloing ourselves into these echo chambers of, well, I'm only going to hang out and work for environmentalism if you're a libertarian
I got you.
environmentalist. Okay, if you're a conservative environmentalist who believes in Jesus Christ and you're an evangelical, well, fuck you. Just because you believe in the environment, fuck you. I'm not going to deal with you. Okay. And so if we do that, they're going to win because divide and conquer is how the empire keeps in power. But if we want to win, we've got to set that shit aside. That's one of the things I love about Unity for Julian, is that the core principle from the very beginning of Unity for Julian has been exactly that, and that is to put aside anything, and that as long as your product, as long as what you produce is positive for Julian Assange, and you're willing to set your politics at the door and not criticize everybody else about theirs, then you're in. And that's why we've got 2,700 people signed in and logged into the Discord server, working night and day to free Julian Assange. And we've got people like from wicked diverse backgrounds. You got me, a crypto anarchist. I'm a guest this week. We got Max Kaiser, Cassandra Fairbanks. Okay, I know everybody in the world hates Cass, right? Well, guess what? Years ago, I was a good friend of Cass's before she became a conservative. When she was an anon and an anarchist, I was good friends with her, and I would still be good friends with her today. She is the one who cut off the friendship. But my point is, she's going to be there. She's going to be doing her thing. And I could easily work with her in that context of Unity for Julian. I have no problem with it. And anybody who does, it's just tough shit. Don't tune into the show then. But we're going to do a 50 guests in 50 hours, and I guarantee you that it is going to be the entire political spectrum, from conservative journalists and pundits who don't agree with anything you agree with, to people like me that maybe you do agree with a little bit of what I agree with. And I'm, so that's how you form a mass movement. That's how you punch power in the face, is by setting aside all of that silly fucking bullshit of what's your religion, what's your politics, all that silly shit, and putting that aside, leaving that at the door, and then rolling up your sleeves and working for one unified thing. And I think that Unity for Jay, I said it with Susie on my show when I had her on as a guest my show last week. I think this is going to change the way mass movements are organized in the future. Um, I think they've really hit on a template here that is very successful. Number one, it's clearly successful if you've got that many people involved already. And I think that going forward, I think people are going to look long and hard, historically look long and hard at the exact details of how Unity for Jay was put together, as a way to form these mass movements and to push agendas forward that a lot of people can agree on, and that's what will make the world a better place. Okay, not siloing ourselves into these little echo chambers and little belief system clubs and circle jerk clubs that really accomplish nothing. And that's part of how Anonymous has failed in the West, because that's exactly what happened within the global collective in the West, is that everybody began to silo themselves. Well, you hunt ISIS, and I don't agree with that. So I'm going to go over here and hunt pedophiles. And okay, but you don't like pedophiles, but you also believe in Jesus Christ, or you're a conservative person and you believe in guns. So you can't join the pedo hunt, even though you don't like pedos. You know what I mean? So you ended up with this whole division thing that just it became like that. You know how like when you get a little crack in your glass in your windshield, and then it grows. All those little millions of cracks grow and grow and grow and grow until pretty soon you just have this honeycomb of cracks in your windshield. And that's what happened, with Anonymous. And I think that the way to undo the cracks may be something like the template that we're seeing with Unity for Julian. But until we can look at things on a global perspective, until we can look at our planet as being the number one priority, the human species as being the number one priority, we're not going to get fundamental change in this world. But if we can do that, I think that we can be very successful.
Yeah, speaking of what was going on, there was a lot of fuckery that was going on from Julian haters. Like there was people DDoSing Unity for J. Then there was people
Yeah,
attacking.
it's been a week of fucking.
Yeah, there was
They
people.
leaked the logs too.
Yeah,
The logs from
they DDoS
the
your
supporter
radio
chat room.
website. They DDoS the whole fucking Radionomy fucking website. Like this is fucking crazy.
That's 1/3 of all the internet. Just so you know that when they took down Radionomy during that broadcast, which I'm sorry that I had to leave last week,
Yeah,
they took down 1/3 of all the internet radio stations in the world. Radionomy is a
this is
gigantic
all over
network. It is
fucking
the number
Julian.
one
This is
network
crazy.
in the world. Yeah, yeah, just to silence my station.
Yeah,
They took down a network and silenced. And this is not. And these were anons, and we caught them. We found out they're being organized out of that new website, Unknown Online, that you did your show on not so long ago. And not that I'm against the site. I'm just saying they did it out of that site, and they were claiming to be anons who were doing this. Well, let me tell you something. From the very beginning, the principle of Anonymous has always been that we will not attack the media. Well, my radio station, whether you like it or fucking not, is media. Okay, so if you silence my radio station and do so under the flag of Anonymous, you're fucking fake. You ain't no real fucking anon. You can get online and disagree with me all you want on Twitter, okay? And that's fine. I'll argue with you all fucking day. But when you DDoS a radio station's website, regardless of what that radio station is broadcasting, you are silencing media and violating one of the most ancient and biggest principles within Anonymous, which is we will not attack the media. You know this, Tyler. You've been around. You're old fucking school, bro.
yeah.
You know that was one of the guiding fucking principles of Anonymous since day one. Has been that we will not attack journalists and we will not attack the media. Well, my radio station, whether you like me or not, you go and look. I got all kind of shows going on over there. They didn't just silence your show. They silenced me for 12 fucking hours, man. I lost Between the Lines, which is just a normal news magazine out of Berkeley. I lost a bunch of different shows that I could not broadcast that day because of the DDoS. So you were silencing media. So go ahead and do that if you want to. I don't give a rat's fucking ass if you want to DDoS me. But if you do it, don't do it under the flag of Anonymous and claim you're this big anon, for free speech and everything when you're taking down the media, because that's not what we believe in. That's not what we do. So
Who was it?
fuck them.
We're not gonna.
It was a crew.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put their names
They
on
were.
it. Yeah, but we know.
I'm
We
not
know.
putting their names out there,
Oh.
but they were organizing. We tracked them down to Unknown Online. They got their own little channel over there, and you can go over there and see under the Tango Down channel. There's a sub channel dedicated just to me, apparently, and so it was
I had to
personal.
reactivate my
It was
Discord. So
it was a personal thing. I get that. It was a personal issue, so fine, whatever. But the radio station doesn't just belong to me. It belongs to my sister, and we broadcast a shit ton of shows that don't have anything to do with me. I only have one weekly radio show on there. And even that shouldn't be DDoSed anyway, because that's media too. But like I said, the bottom line is the radio station that we created, Anonymous Global Internet Radio, is a fucking media. It's a media outlet, and a very successful one, I might add. I'm quite proud of it. And so you go ahead and DDoS, but don't do that shit under the flag of anonymous because you're not fucking anon when you take down media. That's just everybody that's ever been around for more than 5 or 6 years knows that violates one of the core principles of anonymous. And
Well, I mean,
it's
there's
just
like, I mean,
it's,
well, like Lulsec.
that's what angers me.
Yeah,
That's what angers
yeah.
me
I
about
mean, there's been some funny shit. Remember Lulsec when they were putting fake
Well,
articles,
fine. Go
putting
set up a crew like Losec
they
then.
were putting fake articles, but nothing like DDoSing or anything like that. Not DDoSing of
Well,
media.
no,
So
but Losec went ahead and said we're not anonymous.
yeah,
We're
that's
we're
true.
going to do
Yeah,
this outside of the purview of anonymous. We're going to do this. We don't want to fly the flag of anonymous, and they made that clear in their manifesto. That's fine. You want to do that and go to cyber war with me? Fine. But and if you want to attack my personal website under the even under the flag of anonymous, fine. That happens all the time. Anonymous loves to war against itself. That's part of the culture. I get that. But when you take down a radio station, when you take it off the air, okay, I don't care who the broadcaster is. I don't care who one of the founders is. I'm only one of the founders of this station. Okay, it doesn't matter. You took a media site offline for a considerable period of time, and then you went further. You DDoSed my network and took 3,000 3,000 internet radio stations were taken off the air that night to silence me and my voice. That's not Anon. That's evil.
well, yeah,
That's what Anon fights against.
yeah. There
That's what
was
Anonymous
there's
fights against.
I think there's quite a few AM news stations that get rebroadcasted through Radionomy. Like, you
A
know,
lot of them. A lot of
yeah,
people do. Radionomy is the largest network in the world, and it represents 1/3 of the internet radio industry. It's a wonderful network. They provide an incredible service to us. I am so proud to be on their network. They work with Anonymous Radio very, very closely. They've designed our own special page for us. The support works for. In fact, we were back on the air within 10 minutes, just not on Radionomy. But we have a backup plan for that, and we were back on the air and within 10 minutes I had to monitor it, so that's why I couldn't come back on your show. But we were restreaming within 10 minutes after the DDoS of Radionomy. So in essence, they didn't silence us. They failed, okay, to silence us. What they did do is take 3,000 radio stations who weren't as lucky as me to have a backup plan because they didn't expect it. They weren't expecting to get ripped off the air over some shit that they had nothing whatsoever to do with. And so, to me, the attack on the radio station last week by this group that's going after Unity for J. They're the same core group that's going after Unity for J. This group is not Anon and cannot fly the flag of Anon because that's a violation. To silence media is one of the worst violations in Anonymous that you can do, and that's not about rules. That's an agreed principle that we all agreed on from the very beginning back in 2011. That was one of the core principles that we all agreed on, that we would not attack the media. That's why we've never attacked Fox News, even when they were talking shit about us. That's why, that shit was always shut down in the past. Even Facebook, when people tried to take Facebook down under the flag of Anonymous, we shut that shit down because Facebook is media. You're streaming on Facebook right now. It's a social media platform. That's media, and it's media for individuals. That's the best kind of media. That's the most important kind of media. It's media for the individual person where they could be a TV station. You can have your Facebook page, and boom, you're on TV. Boom, you're on the radio, all by yourself if you want to be, and you can amplify your voice. And so, this is part of the core principle of Anonymous. And what pisses me off, and I hope they're listening out there, they're pals of both of ours, Tyler. They've been around. We
yeah.
both know who did this. Okay, and I hope they're fucking listening. You want to beef with me personally? Fine, I don't give a shit. You know what my website is? It's www.commanderx.info. Go take it down right now. Good for you. DDoS the fuck out of it. But when you take the radio station offline, you are violating one of the core principles of Anonymous. And you got to take that mask off and take that flag off, that anonymous flag off. Do not call yourself an Anon, because that is fucking media, and it's damn good media. I'm proud of our station. We have worked hard. Me and my sister have slaved for endless fucking hours to build that station to what it is now, one of the most successful radio stations in Anonymous. And one of a kind, really a unique fucking product of Anonymous. And you silence that, and you silence media. So you're just an evil fuck. You're part of what we fight against, not part of this. You're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem.
Well, yeah, that's been always
So there's the end of my rant for
I
for
gotcha.
last week's DDoS. It fucking pissed me off really bad. And like I said, it wasn't the DDoS that pissed me off. It was who did it and the flag that they were flying. That's just bullshit.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say who, like, okay, who is this, like, this? I'm just gonna get a little raise. I'm gonna get a little fucking a little, I'm gonna get I'm just gonna be I'm just gonna use the words that are gonna come out of mouth to describe this person. Who is this transgender girl who was in the WikiLeaks chat, right? That leaked everything. Like, she seems like she was like a spy, you know what I mean? And she was fucking doing all that shit and just leaked all the fucking the combos. Do you know?
Julian Assange, when the first defector from WikiLeaks was that fucking cat who was the spokesperson. I can't even remember his name now. He's so unimportant to me. But for years he was the Schmidt or whatever, that dude Schmidt. Um, Last name was Schmidt. He was the famous spokesperson, kind of Julian's sidekick for years in the early days of WikiLeaks. He was really the first defector, and I think that Julian summed it up best when he after he defected and he took a bunch of leaks with him and destroyed them because he thought Julian was a danger to the world and all that shit. And I think that Julian summed it up best. So I'll give a quote from Julian. People are loyal to you until it's convenient for them to do otherwise. And I really think that that's the way it is. I mean, people are, for the most part, people are loyal until it becomes inconvenient, and then you can count on them turning on you. And I think it's part and parcel of just life. I don't even think it's about activism or anything. I think that rings true to me in my life. I mean, I've had so many dear friends who, the minute it became a little bit inconvenient, turned on me in a heartbeat, and not just in anonymous, just in life in general. Even family members, even people in my family. Shit, I'm a black sheep in my family. The only person in the world left in my whole family is downstairs listening to this show right now. And she's the only person left who's standing by me, and she's been, you know, she's the exception to that rule. There are exceptions to that rule. There are people who understand the importance of loyalty and who for them it's the guiding principle of their life. But nowadays, even Barrett Brown has he's openly actually preached against loyalty. He said that's tribalism. That's that you shouldn't do that. That you should be loyal to truth, or you should be loyal to this or that principle. Well, principles are inanimate things. Principles are just ideas. You can't be loyal to a principle. Okay, you can believe in a principle, but you can't be loyal to it. It's not a fucking person. It's a thing. Okay, you are loyal to people, and for me, the way I have dealt with friendship my whole life, and again, it's rare that I found other individuals who believe in this. My sister being one of them, is that loyalty transcends that. Barrett has gone off the rails a shit ton of times, but for years, right up until very recently,
Yeah,
he was a dear friend of mine.
I saw
He was a good. He
I,
was a good.
I saw that
He was
shit
a
that
good
went
friend
down
of mine
this week.
until very recently. He was a
Yeah.
good friend of mine. Okay, he attacked my sister, really, and that's where my ultimate loyalty lies, is to her. And so he attacked her, called her crazy and shit like that. And what I was like, okay, well, fuck you. You're gonna fuck with my family. You're gonna talk shit about them. You cross the line. You can talk shit about Julian all day long, and I'll stay your friend. You know what I mean? Because again, that's the loyalty thing. But so I think that there's so few people in this world left that really believe in loyalty as a philosophic principle, as a life principle. That you're going to always have this. You're going to always have these backstabbers. So this girl stealing these logs doesn't surprise me at all. It really fucking doesn't. What does surprise me and concern me, um, and I've spoken to Julian about this privately when he was still online and we were still talking. I didn't join that group. It was called WikiLeaks Plus 10, and I could have joined it. I'm one of the core supporters that Julian trusts, and I could have been a part of that. I chose to work with Julian on the projects that we worked on together privately. But my problem is Julian's his operational security. That shit never should have been done in a Twitter chat.
Yeah, never.
That should have
Yeah.
been going on in some encrypted forum like Jabber with OTR, where it's all off the record, that kind of fucking
Oh,
thing. So
OTR.
number
Yeah.
one, I think the operational security was questionable.
Number two, I think that in the last few years, Julian has become a little bit desperate for core supporters. And so he trusted people he should have known better not to trust. Um, my core group consists of 6 people. I'll tell you that. That's when I talk about my crew, I'm talking about a very specific thing. We even have a website, Legion Security. You can go check it out, legionsecurity.info. In fact, we just put up a great page this week where we've got a whole bunch of applications, Android apps that you can find for things like counter surveillance and security and protest organization. So it's a pretty cool site. My core group in my life, in my whole world, is my crew, and my sister's in it, and I'm in it, and then 4 of the people who won't be named, and it's 6 people, and it's 6 people that number one, I've met them all in real life. I didn't meet these people online, and that's key to me. I don't organize in a deep way, in a deep way. I will not share my deepest secrets with anybody whose eyes I've not looked into. And I think that that's a principle for hackers, especially. I think it's a principle they should adopt. Stop forming deep conspiracies with people that you meet online because they can be fucking anybody and they can have any motivation. But I can look a man in the eye. I'm 50 years old, 54, coming up in a couple of weeks, actually. My birthday, I'll be 54. I'm a man of experience, and I can look in your eyes and judge you in about 5 seconds on at least the basics. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. It's important to look a person in the eye before you start sharing your life with them. And so I just think that Julian, I'm not blaming him. I guess maybe he was probably, like I said, desperate for supporters. But the operational security sucked. The crew that was in there was not particularly impressive. And I just think that
Yeah,
I hope
yeah,
that going forward, Julian has learned a lesson and will organize WikiLeaks a little bit better and a little bit tighter because he does have some core supporters like myself who he could trust. I would die for Julian. That's an absolute fact. You know what I mean? As long as he doesn't go after my sister like Barrett did, I would die for him. And so, um, I think that's really the cause of this is people need to understand that this principle isn't a thing anymore. People don't believe in loyalty anymore. Very few people do, and those are the few people that you got to find them. You got to find those people, and you hang tight with them people because you know that they're going to take one for you. They're going to take a bullet for you, and I think that kind of loyalty is just really rare, especially in activism lately. And I think that I try to bring it back. I try to advocate for it on my Twitter account. I try to make it known that this is a principle of mine. And this is why, people say there might be some shit in there that Julian said in those logs that are not so good. Well, again, it comes back to the 2 things I talked about. What does Julian produce? He doesn't produce misogyny. Maybe he talks like a shithead about women, okay, in private, okay, but he doesn't produce that on WikiLeaks. So I don't give a shit. I really just don't. That's a personal character issue. That's between him and the women he dates, really, if you want to know the truth. I
uh,
mean, it's not none of my fucking business if he's a slightly misogynist person or not. If he treats women like shit or not. That I'm not his girlfriend. I could give a rat's ass. I'm loyal to him because he's my friend, and I work with him because of what he produces. And so, those logs were a bad thing. I mean, it's been a bad week for WikiLeaks. There was the logs, there was the Ecuadorian military base, there was, the attacks on Susie Dawson, on and on. The DDoSes of the Unity for J site, DDoSes of the station. I mean, it's been a bad week for the movement, especially those of us working night and day to try to help Julian. So yeah, we took some hits, and I imagine we're going to take more. I mean, this is part of the business. I've learned to take it with a grain of salt. My sister gets livid about it sometimes, and she gets even mad at me because I don't get livid sometimes. But I mean, I've learned to take it with a grain of salt because I realize this is just part and parcel of how this fucking shit works. I mean, people in general suck, and it's hard to find
so,
good people who don't suck.
so did that
You know what I mean?
transgender
And
chick. She sucked too.
I think so. I think so. I don't know what her point was in doing that, and it
she
may have
said
been
she
valid.
said quote unquote her life she felt like her life was in danger, so she leaked it. I've been digging through this chick's fucking like Twitter feed. She doesn't have any real cybersecurity or anything really related. She seems more like a journalist kind of person. And I when the media made a farce, like made a big noise about 11 WikiLeaks. The biggest title that went around is WikiLeaks got leaked on, or leak. You know what I mean? And I was like, if anybody read through those transcripts, a lot of it was just bullshit talk. It was bullshit talk, like everyday fucking conversations. Nothing of real value, nothing of real substance. And I'm like,
Some of it was locker. Some of the shit that people are getting blamed for, and that the media is making such a big deal, are what I call locker room talk. Um, I myself, and I'm not saying I'm a perfect human being. I'm not claiming to be a saint, but one of the things about 10 years ago, I really decided to make an effort to become a better man. Um, I've become very conscious as I get older that I want to die a good man. And so I actually gave up what I call locker room talk, but I was guilty of it in my youth. You know what I mean? And I think we've all done it. Talk shit about girls when it's just the guys in the locker room, talk shit about a little bit of racism and stuff like that. It was very prevalent, especially when I was a young kid, to talk shit about when it was just a few white people at a party or a bar, to talk shit about people of color maybe or whatever. And I call that locker room talk because in general, the people who say that shit don't really believe it. They're trying to be a tough guy. They're trying to be in the in crowd. Okay. And I made a moral stance, a personal stance, to try to eliminate that from my life because I believe it's wrong. But I don't heavily judge people about it either because I understand it happens. You know what I mean? And so I've been through the logs. I've been all through them. I wanted to see if anybody was talking shit about me. Because I'm part of the WikiLeaks organization.
well,
I consider
do
myself
you, you
part of
know she
WikiLeaks.
you know she deleted she put all the she put here's how much I'm gonna say that she's playing favorites, and what she did is she put all of the conversation in a database and switched and bleeped out the person's name so she didn't want to get hurt. So I'm like really kind of like wondering what's this person's motivation to begin with, you know?
Revenge,
Yeah,
and I can
yeah.
almost tell you, and I don't even know this for a fact, but I've been through this so many times in the last 10 years within information activism that I can almost guarantee you somebody said something to her. Maybe she got slapped down by WikiLeaks in a DM. Maybe somebody said something hurtful to her or something that went up her ass sideways, and it's these things are always about revenge, almost always about revenge. And that's what does it. And in the case of this WikiLeaks spokesman, Julian suspended him for a month from the WikiLeaks organization because he said some shit to the press that Julian hadn't authorized. Julian was his boss. WikiLeaks is a publishing organization. It has a boss, and Julian is it. Like it or not, if you go to work for WikiLeaks, as I have in the past, I accept the fact that Julian, in that context, is my boss.
Mhm.
So if Julian says don't do this, then I've got two choices. I can either quit the organization, okay, or I can not do what he says to not do. And that's that. WikiLeaks isn't some sort of open movement like Anonymous. It's not. It's just not. It's a publishing organization with a boss and with owners and with the whole bit. And with financials even and money involved. So you know, I think that at some point, my guess, and it's probably a pretty good guess, is that this chick did something and she got slapped down for it, and so she went bonkers and decided to take revenge on the entire thing. And again, it comes back to loyalty. It comes back to how people. It comes down to character. It really comes down to character. And I have found at 54 years old that it's hard to find people of truly good character. It just doesn't matter to people anymore. It just doesn't. And that's a sad, uh, cynical view on our world, but I found it to be the truth because I deal with thousands of people all around the world, and like I said, it's especially in Western culture. You find in other cultures, especially like here in Latin America, they're much bigger on the idea of loyalty, on family, on staying true to your word, that kind of thing. So I really think it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural lack in Western culture that just doesn't value that anymore. Doesn't value loyalty. Doesn't value um, you know having character and conducting yourself in a way that people can learn to trust you, not just for the short term, but for the long term.
Well, I can tell you what, people are going to evaluate talking to her in private for the rest of her life.
Of course, that's what she.
Hmm.
People like that. People like that never think about that shit. This Schmidt guy thought he was going to get a whole career. He wrote a book, everything when he defected from WikiLeaks. He thought he was going to become the big shit on Turd Mountain. I can't even remember the dude's fucking name now. I literally cannot. You know what I mean? He's a nobody. I haven't seen anything from him in years on online or anywhere. He went from being Julian Assange's right hand man, the co-creator and whatnot of WikiLeaks, to being somebody whose name I don't even know anymore. So, this always inevitably backfires on people. You'll get your 10 minutes of fame. You know what I mean? You will. And for now, the limelight is on her, and I'm sure she's feeling pretty good. But 5 years from now, I guarantee you, nobody will even remember who the fuck she is. And when they do, and when she tries to interface with anybody, and they look her up and they dox her to see if they want her in their crew, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, it's cool. I just looked you up. You're the one who did this. Now I'm good. We're good. We'll pass." And so it always disloyalty always backfires on you in the end. And that's, that to me is one of the reasons I adopted the principles I adopted. And like I said, for me, it was a life change about 10 years ago when I decided I didn't like the man I was. I didn't like the person I was. And it was a conscious effort to say, you know what? I think that these are the things that make a good man, and that's what I want to be. And it's not easy. Being a person of good character is always going to be the hardest thing to do. It's always easier to be a backstabbing piece of shit. That's easy. You know what I mean? Anybody can do that. But holding to your principles and having character is always going to be the hardest thing in the world to do. But for me, it's been very rewarding, and it's also been strategically good for me because now, and you know this for a fact, Tyler, people all over the world trust me with some pretty heavy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, with some pretty heavy shit. So I may have my haters, but I have some people like Glenn Greenwald and shit like that whose friendship, man, holy shit, I'm like, I can't even believe I'm friends with some of these people and work with some of these people. And I really would like to believe it's because, they've looked at me and seen a good man. And it really takes that conscious effort to do that and to become that kind of a person, and you won't be popular. You won't have shit tons of fucking drinking buddies. But what you will have is a core group of people like I've got who would literally take a bullet for me. And I'm telling you, that makes me stay awake at night and cry to think that I've got people that love me and are that loyal to me that they would just literally stand in front of a gun for me. And that lady downstairs who's listening right now, she's one of them. That's incredible to know that I have a sibling who would literally step in front of a pistol for me and take one. Um, how many people can say that? And I'd like to think that the reason that she would do that is not because of the DNA in my blood. I'd like to think the reason she would do that is because of the man I've become. And so I just, I think it's about character. A lot of this shit is about character. It's why I defend Julian Assange so much, because I believe he is a man of character. I believe he is a man of loyalty. It's been very inconvenient for Julian Assange to be my friend. He's retweeted a few of my articles and taken my blog pieces. He's retweeted them on the WikiLeaks account, and he's taken massive shit for it. But he's never backed down. He's never once said, "Hey, I don't believe in Commander X." And I checked those logs. I searched for my name. Nobody was in there talking shit about me. And that's I'd like to believe again that's because of my loyalty to him and the character that I've shown him. And I believe he's a man of that same kind of caliber. He's a man of that same kind of character, and it's very impressive. It's hard to find people like that. And this chick definitely wasn't one of them. She just wasn't in that category.
I just was surprised
No.
that I was just surprised she was even in the circle of people. I'm like,
I
jeez.
think again, this goes back to desperation. Julian, needs supporters. Maybe she had a skill set that was valuable to him. Um, it's a difficult time for Julian. His judgment is maybe not the best, and you have to give him that because I mean, look at the incredible what he's endured. I mean, 8 years of solitary confinement in a broom closet, getting his internet cut off since March. Just everything that he's been through. It's basically torture what he's been through. And I just think that, I think it's a judgment thing. I agree. It was bad judgment on a lot of different levels. I think that whole little WikiLeaks plus 10 thing was just bad judgment from top to bottom.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I just
and
would never.
so
Yeah, I would.
it
I
was a
don't. Yeah, it
mistake
was a
waiting to
mistake.
happen.
Yeah.
It was a disaster waiting to happen. I really feel from the beginning. And, so it's a lesson learned. I've made mistakes too. I've associated with people in Anonymous that I was very, very regretful that I let them into my circle. When push came to shove, I've made mistakes too. It happens. You make mistakes in judgment. What happens is you live and learn. You become better at discernment. You become better at judging people's character. But I really feel that for me, the key was about 3 or 4 years ago when I realized the importance of looking a person in the eye. That's really critical. Um, you need to trust people that you meet only online, only so much. The people who you can really put your faith in are the people who you look them in the eye. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul, and I really think there's something to that. So I think that people need to learn that you can only trust so much of the folks that you meet on the internet, and and because anybody can be anybody on the internet. A complete fucking dickhead can come across as a saint. You know, at least for a while on the internet, and so lessons learned, discernment, whatnot. I think that WikiLeaks will be a lot tighter organization when Julian gets out of there. Um, I think some things will change because of this. So that's always the silver lining. Whenever it slides off the plate, like it has an organization like WikiLeaks or any crew really out there, it's a lesson learned. I love that saying from the Batman movie: "Whatever doesn't kill you only makes you stranger." You know, so you just really pull up your bootstraps. You know what I mean, and you become better. You become better at the game. But it's sad that it happened, and it's fucked up that it happened this week. I mean, it was just a one in a line of series of catastrophes really this week that have been kicking us in the teeth. It's almost to the point where I'm afraid to log in and check Twitter anymore. I'm afraid for the next fucking shoe to fall. So, but that's the nature of this game. This game has always been tense like this. I mean, going all the way back to 2010 or 11 when Anonymous really started to explode, it's always been like this. It goes through peaks and valleys. It's true, but whenever things are hot, whenever things are very intense, you can count on this sort of thing happening. It's a big game with a lot of chess players on the board, and so it's chaos theory. You've talked a lot about that, Tyler, before on the show about chaos theory.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. That's what you've got going here. And so what it is it's not a battle against these people, and that's where you will lose if you make it a battle against if you make it personal, then you lose. But if you can step back and see it not as a battle against individuals or evil individuals, but a battle against the chaos. You know what I mean? You're trying to create order out of chaos. You're trying to build this thing, this crew, this movement, whatever. And if you step back from it, then you can take it a lot more dispassionately. And I think that's why I'm so cool as a cucumber when I'm like, my radio station is falling offline or something like that. I'm not all, wigging out and screaming and yelling. The reason it does roll off my back is because I see it that way. I see it as a battle against, chaos as opposed to some sort of personal attack on me. It's just the way of life. Whenever you try to do something powerful, the more powerful the thing you're trying to do, the more powerful is going to be the chaos arrayed against you for that. And I think that that's true in anything in life, whether it's working in a movement, working in activism, or just shit. You're trying to make a garden. You're trying to constantly pull the weeds out, right? So it's just everything in life is really sort of this. I see everything in life. My philosophy is sort of this battle against chaos, and um, so you learn to get good at that game. That's all. You learn to get good at it. You use weed killer, and then all of a sudden the weeds are gone, and and that's that. It's no different than anything else in life. But I think WikiLeaks will come out of this stronger if they look at it that way and grow from it, and their organization will become stronger for it.
Yeah.
But it's sad that it happened. It's tragic. It's It's definitely, it has hurt the movement. I won't lie. I mean, I wish I could say, oh well, it doesn't fucking matter. It's nothing.
Well, if you remember,
But
if you
it
looked at
does.
if you looked at
It's hurtful. It's harmful. It gives the enemies of the movement fuel. Um,
Julian's the legal team that's in hold of Julian's account on Twitter. Remember, he would have thousands of responses, and now we're down to hundreds.
yeah.
This is not, and it's not just shadow banning. There's always been shadow banning going on since the beginning of WikiLeaks presence on Twitter. Like this is not shadow banning. This is loss of popularity. And this
No,
is,
we've seen it. I've seen
but
it
this is,
this
but
week, because
this, yeah.
those logs contained a lot of dirt on Susie Dawson, for instance. And like last week when I aired her show, I had hundreds of listeners tuned in to hear Susie's interview with me. And now this week when I replayed the show, I had 5 listeners when I started, and they all tuned out within 5 minutes. Nobody wanted to listen to Susie Dawson. So it is effective. That's unfortunate, but these sorts of smear campaigns. Especially when they're fueled by private conversations and stuff like that, private things. It is effective. I won't lie. It's those logs were a blow to the movement to support Julian Assange, and that sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It sucks, but I'm also not going to sit around and dwell on it. The minute Susie popped into my chat this morning to talk about being a guest on the vigil, I didn't even hesitate, and I'm still retweeting her. And for me, it's going to be water off my back. I'm not going to, in the least, stop supporting Susie Dawson because, again, it goes back to what I said. What does this girl produce? And this is one of the most courageous women, besides my own sister, that I've ever known in my life. I am so honored that she calls me her friend. And those smears and that shit that was talked about in those logs about her doesn't even fucking faze me a bit. It just doesn't. I just could care fucking less because I know what she produces and I know what her character is, because I know her story. I helped re-edit it, and put it out there. It's called Diary of a Person of Interest, and we put out a radio quality version of it that I encourage everybody to go listen to before you judge this woman and hear what the fuck she went through and hear the courage that she showed in defying the forces of evil that were bent on killing her, bent on killing her. That's one of the things I love about Susie is that she faced an assassination attempt just like my sister did. And of course, they didn't succeed in even injuring Susie. In my sister's case, she was grievously wounded in the assassination attempt and will carry the disabilities of that for life. But to me, there's a great parallels between Susie's story and my sister's story, and both of them are women of incredible courage that I never could have shown. I mean, I think that women in general are so much more courageous than we are. That's just in general. I've always believed that. I guess it's a bit of reverse sexism, you might call it, but I really think that women are much more courageous than we are. Maybe it's biological because they pop out babies or something. I don't know, but I mean, in general, I think women are more courageous. And the things that Susie Dawson and my sister have faced in their career of activism and to still stick with it, to still stick with activism, is just mind blowing to me. They are my heroes, and so I'll never back down from supporting Susie Dawson or working with her. And so I think to me that's my way of dealing with it. It's just water off my back. But I won't lie, it's harmful. I've had people coming to me all day long. Oh, you've got to talk to Susie. You've got to get her to resign from the movement. It's bad. She's bad for the movement now. No. The answer is just polite no. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. Um, Next week it's going to be a smear campaign against you, and I'm still not going to believe that. So then you're going to be grateful, right? But I mean, just no, you know, and that's why when I was talking with that one fellow last week, and I guess I really convinced him that Julian was a good man, and that he wrote to me after and said I changed his mind, and he appreciated that. You know, no matter what they say about Julian, and no matter what shit he talked in that private fucking chat, he's still a good man. He's still the same man today as he was yesterday. And that is a man of courage, who has stood up not just for himself, but for the entire fucking world's right to know what our nations are doing in our name. And continues to do that, and it's willing to die to continue to do that. It's willing to give his life for this movement. That is admirable. And I will, no matter what kind of shit he got caught for saying. Like I said, if he's not saying it about me, my family or my friends, then, you know, I'm good with him. And I'm not good with Barrett because he did. He did attack my family. So fuck you, Barrett, if you're listening. If you're tuned in, Barrett, you can eat a bag of cocks, man, because I'm done with you. You know what I mean? Until you apologize to my sister for talking shit to her, you know, she fucking supported you. She sent you fucking money in fucking prison. She sent you books, and you fucking got the nerve to talk shit to her like that. Well, fuck you, Barrett. I hope you're listening. Me and you are fucking done, and you're an asshole. So, and that's that. He's lost my friendship, and I think he's lost more than he'll ever understand because I'm one fuck of a friend to have. Anybody who's ever been in a barroom fight with me will tell you I'm one fucking hell of a friend to have because I will fucking knock some heads for a bro. I'm serious. I'm the dude you want to have at your back when it goes south in a fucking bar. Let me tell you something. I'm a fighter, you know what I mean? And I believe in fighting for my own. And it starts with my own, at least. And so, it's his loss, not mine. He lost a good friend who was willing to go to the fucking, who was willing to go to the ground for him. For years, I've been willing to do that, and you know, he's lost it now. So that was his choice.
Mhm.
And it wasn't because of the shit he says. It's not because of what he believes. I disagree with him, and I'll openly disagree with him in public. But that's not going to cost you a friendship. Me and you, Tyler, maybe sometime we might disagree, but you know what? It's never going to cost us our friendship.
Mhm.
I don't care what you believe in. I mean, as long as we're still friends and you're still right, act right. Don't fucking, act stupid and talk shit about my friends or family or hurt them. Then we're friends. It doesn't matter what you believe in. I mean, I think one of my favorite people on this show is Preston, and I doubt we agree on anything. But I love him. He's fucking awesome. I'm missing him like hell this week. Is he coming back next week or
Yeah,
what?
he had some personal issues he had to take care of this week, so
Oh, I hope he's all right. Well,
yeah, he's
I
okay.
hope the best for him. And I hope he clears that shit up and comes right straight away back, man. I think he's just a wonderful man, and he's got principle and he's got character, and I like that.
Did you hear about Marty G today?
Yes, I got the tweet right away, like literally within seconds after the conviction. I think it's tragic. It really looked like for a
This is
couple of
this is the
days it was
same
quite
judge.
exciting,
Is this the
um,
same judge that
because it
fucking?
looked like we were going to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it looked like we were going to get a hung jury. What was interesting was I got really excited when the deliberation started. I was following it very, very closely, literally minute by minute. Um, and I'm going to actually have Dana on my show. I believe not this Saturday because we have the vigil, but the Saturday after.
Yeah, because
We'll have Dana on.
tomorrow she's
Um,
gonna be on Alex Jones. She's been on this show before too. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna have her on. She agreed to come on. But I was following it minute by minute. It was quite exciting. For 2 days, it looked like we were going to get a hung jury. Um, there was one juror who actually made the mistake of admitting to the judge that she was doing jury nullification, and she was holding out, and she
Yeah.
sent
Yeah,
a note
and,
to the
and we're gonna
judge
we're gonna have her on.
saying
She agreed
that I
to come on,
cannot go
but
by the letter of the law in this case. And the judge wrote a note back saying that you have to go by the letter of the law, and if you can't, I'm removing you from the jury, which he did. And that's how they got the verdict. But we had a juror, and if she just would have kept her mouth shut, that's all. When you do jury nullification, you don't fucking tell the judge you're doing that. That's a big no-no because they'll just fucking remove you straight away from the jury. That's all they'll do. That's why they have backup jurors. Um, so if you're gonna do jury nullification, zip your fucking lip and just keep voting no. And if that woman had done that, if she had held her ground and just kept voting no and smiling at the rest of them, then Marty would have got a hung jury, and that would have been huge because even if they retry him, they would have. It's very hard to not grant bail to a person who's on a second trial after a jury is hung. So he probably would have got bail, which would have been at least a relief to get him out of prison for a while. He could be with his wife. So it was quite exciting. For 2 days, it really looked like we were going to get a hung jury. And of course, we know now that the juror has spoken out. The juror in question has spoken out and said that was the case. We were going to get a hung jury. Um, but like I said, this one particular juror fucked up and let the judge know that that's the headspace that she was in. I believe it was a female, and so it cost us that. And then as soon as she was replaced, it was an instant guilty verdict. So it's very tragic. It's very, very sad. Marty will, based on my uh, uh, opinion, being so exposed to these CFAA cases, I believe Marty is looking at 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, he would only get 2.5 years served, and this is ridiculous. I thought he was gonna get out quicker, but
No,
you,
it's a CF, a high profile CFAA conviction is about 3 years to litigate. So no matter what, and they don't grant you bond. They label you as a terrorist. And so you're looking at 3 years, even if you're found innocent, which no one has ever been found innocent of a CFAA beef. And you're looking at between 7 to 10 years for a high-profile DDoS case. So um, the best we could hope for would be seven.
well,
Seven.
he's doing he did a radio interview. I think he was calling his wife, and his wife is up. Kind of the same thing that Weave was doing, and when they
Yeah,
call
and he'll get caught doing that. They'll shut that shit down, the same as they
well,
shut Weave
yeah,
down.
we just got to keep it on
And
the
that won't
DL.
last. Yeah, that won't last forever. They're holding him incommunicado right now. I've got some news that maybe is a little bit fresh for you guys, but they've moved him into booking. Um, this is a tactic that they use many times when they're trying to silence you, and they've got legal ways that they can do this. And so instead of shooting you into solitary, which they actually have to have certain, they can only do under certain circumstances.
Yeah,
What they do instead is it's informal solitary. What they do is they move you into the booking area and they house you there, and so no phone calls, no visits, yada yada. And so it's one of the many ways that the prison system has of silencing you. Is another way that I was actually a victim of when I started speaking out many years ago. I did 5 years in state prison, and I began speaking out about my case. And so what they did is they put me into what we call transit. So essentially, they put me on an airplane with no destination. I just basically flew around with U.S. federal marshals for like a month, and it's fucking torture because they feed you. First of all, they feed you the minimum amount of food because they don't want you to have to. They don't want to have to unchain you so you're going to take a shit while you're on the flight. Okay, so they feed you this tiny little box of food, so you're all the time starving. You're spending 10 to 12 hours a day in full manacles with the waist with the waist chain and everything. So imagine being in that position on an airplane for 8 to 12 hours a day or on a bus. Sometimes I was on a bus, sometimes I was on a plane, and this is a way that they've had forever to silence people who become political in the federal prison system. They put you into transit with just you don't even have a destination, and they don't even have to list you. They don't have to list you on the site for security reasons. Nobody can find out where you are. You're only allowed a phone call
yeah, they did.
once in a great while, maybe once every 48 hours, you might get to a telephone um, and be able to make a call. But for the most part, you're almost completely incommunicado. Um, and it's a form of torture. And so what they've done to Marty to shut him down in the post-conviction phase, I suspect it'll last between now and sentencing, is because they don't have a viable reason to put him in solitary, they've put him into the booking area. So you won't be hearing any more fresh telephone calls from Marty, not for a while. At least until he's post sentencing and gets to a prison where that's going to be his home for a while. So they're cocksuckers, essentially.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it's
they did the same thing to what's his name? Oh god, I was watching a documentary on Netflix on this guy, the Guru guy in the '70s who was a cult leader in the state of Washington. They did the same thing to him when he was fighting his case.
yeah. I was with when I was in we called it the American Gulag, um, the transit system, and there's a new slang term for it now. I can't remember what it is, but they've got a new prison slang term for it. But I actually found out that this was a thing because I was in there with a bunch of black radicals, and I sat next to one on a plane, and we had a wonderful conversation about we started out with why are you here, why am I here, and then he began to educate me on how black radicals and especially those who organize within the prison system, have been the victim of this since the 60s and the 70s. And he said that the longest that he's ever been in transit has been 3 months. I survived it for about 3 weeks, almost a month, and I was so happy. I was so happy to get off the plane that when I finally got where I was going and I saw the local sheriffs on the tarmac to pick me up, um, I literally cried and thanked them. And they had known me from before. They'd had me in custody before, and they knew me, and they knew I was a fairly decent cat, that I wasn't going to cause them any trouble. They actually immediately took me out of chains right there in the tarmac, even out of my handcuffs, and let me get in the van free of any restraint, and took me back to the jail. And even though it was like 11 o'clock at night, they cooked me up a big meal and gave me a private cell so I could get my head together. And they really had sympathy. These were pigs. These were cops, man, who had sympathy on me because they knew what I had been through and what that system was like. So, I mean, when you know it's going to be bad when even pigs are having sympathy for you for being in that kind of a situation. But this is part and parcel of how and what I said in my open letter to the Mexican government. I want to give another little week tonight. There's about to be a big break in my case. It's going to be quite exciting, but I'm about to enter direct negotiations with the Mexican government. And one of the key things that is going to be, they've already indicated to me, is going to be a big part of why I'm going to be granted political asylum here, is the conditions in the American prisons. There, so many times you hear talk about how bad the prisons are here in Mexico, and some of them are. I'm not going to lie. You can't sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
Some of them are, but
The
they've
jail in
made
Tijuana is pretty bad.
right. But they've made well. The jails in general are always bad, and that's the same in America. The jails, I can tell you for a fact, are worse even than the federal prison system. But the federal prison system is bad because you're always in there for a very long time. So the shit that's bad is like it's like okay, what is worse? A thousand cockroaches crawling on you that you can easily brush off, or that single mosquito in your room in the middle of the night that you can never seem to catch, right? So the things that are bad in the federal prison are going to be bad for you for a very fucking long time. And that's what is really what's bad about the federal prison system. You can't point at any one thing. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there laughing, going, "So what? You were on an airplane for a month." Yeah, well, fucking try it, and then find out what it's like to eat those little fucking box lunches for fucking 3.5 weeks and come back and see me. You know what I mean? Because it may be okay for a day or two, and you might look at it and go, okay, that's not torture, that's not bad. You deserved it. You were a criminal, right? But what's wrong with the federal prison system is that these systemic forms of torture are torture because you're putting up with them for fucking years and years and years on end, for long durations of time. And I think that the federal prison system, several Northern European countries have stopped extraditing hackers to the United States of America for that one reason, because the U.S. federal prison system does not meet the international standards for the treatment of prisoners. And it's just a simple fact that they do not meet the UN standards for the treatment of prisoners. And that's not to say that there aren't some prisons in Mexico that don't, but Mexico at least has taken great strides, especially in the last 5 years, to really turn that around. They really have. And so I think that, one of the things going forward that Mexico is interested in speaking with me about is the fact that given my age and given my health, Tyler,
Yeah.
it's no exaggeration to say that I would probably die in prison if I'm taken back at this point. I'm looking at a bare minimum of 12 years. I already know that. My lawyers have already told me that. That includes the flight to avoid prosecution charge, the CFAA charge, and it doesn't include other indictments that we know about but we can't prove.
Mhm.
For instance, you know that I was involved in Operation Orlando, where we took down Disneyland and we took down a bunch of other million-dollar corporations in defense of food, not bombs. I did that. I did that off. And they got the computer that I did it with.
Oh
They
shit.
seized it in my second arrest. And so I can't prove that I'm indicted for Orlando,
but I'm pretty certain I am. They got my phone that I did that off on, and they got my computer that I did that off on. They got the press releases that I wrote. You know what I mean? In my own, in the original files for those press releases. They know I did it. They always knew I did it, and now they've got the proof that I did it. So, um, facing 12 years just for the indictments that are public, we're probably, based on my own knowledge of my case, I'm probably looking at closer to 20. I'm 54 years old, Tyler.
Yeah.
I'm not going to survive a 20-year sentence.
No.
That's life in prison for me. For what? For standing up for homeless people. Okay. Well, so fuck you. So I did that. I admitted it in my books. I'm admitting it on your radio show right now. I did every single fucking one of them crimes. And I am not fucking going to go to prison for the rest of my life for it because it's protest. It was me standing up for disenfranchised people. If anything, I could argue the act of necessity. You know what I mean? Which has been successfully argued on a couple of times, but I don't think I would be able to argue it in the CFAA case. It's never been successfully argued. It would be a first. But I wouldn't even survive the trial process. I am so unhealthy right now from lack of a doctor and at my age that I wouldn't even survive the 3-year process of trial. I would die in prison just before I was even found guilty or innocent. I know this for a fact. I know this in my heart because I've been in prison. I spent 5 years in there, and I know what I can do, and I know what I can't do, and I can't survive that. So, that seems to be going forward in our discussion with the Mexican government seems to be the biggest thing that they're interested in talking about. And so it's very exciting. It's about to break. I can't give the specifics, but I encourage anybody who is interested in my case. And my sister's asylum is going to be contingent because I also have some things that I'm going to trade the Mexican government. I have some knowledge about their election was recently hacked, and I happen to have stumbled upon some information about that I'm going to trade them in exchange for my asylum. And one of my things that I want in return is my sister's asylum as well. I want them to grant her political asylum. And once we do that, we will become the first two Anons in history to be granted political asylum ever. And that will be a big deal. I think that's a big deal not just for us, but I think it's a big deal for Anonymous because it will set a precedent. Um, and it will change it will change the narrative in this war between Anonymous and the US DOJ. And so perhaps in the future, we can not have a Marty G happen again.
It was
We might be able to do
Marty
that.
G is literally like he DDoSed a web portal. That's it, and he literally gonna get 10 years for that. It's fucking stupid. Like the web portal didn't do anything. It was like insignificant. Like
It was a donations.
yeah,
It was a donations portal.
yeah, it was
Uh,
insignificant. It
an
was
insignificant
yeah,
donations portal. Yeah.
yeah.
And let's look at the reality of Marty's case. I wrote a blog piece on Marty's case where I got people to really look at the reality of this. Let's look at. We want to talk about interfering with a hospital. Everybody's all bent that it was a hospital, okay? And interfering with patient care and access and all that sort of shit. Well, let's say that Marty, because this is a really important cause, the abuse of children, the systemic
Oh yeah, what
abuse
Dana
of
told
children
what Dana
within
told me what
within this
Boston's told
hospital.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Go ahead.
okay, so let's look at this from a perspective of Occupy. Okay, let's say that Marty had organized a street protest against this hospital. How would that have affected patient care? Well, I think it would have. And I'm sorry to say, but if you're an ambulance trying to get into the emergency room and you've got 10,000 people in the streets, that might be an issue. You might have to wait some minutes before you get in. And the amount of security. Think about the cleanup afterwards. What about the cost of cleaning up the streets and the grounds of a hospital if you had a huge, say, 5,000 person protest, okay, outside the hospital? Now, if Marty got caught for that, at the very worst, he would have been a weekend in jail for like trespassing or whatever it is they charge occupiers with resisting arrest, or they always have some little stupid charge they make up as a reason to take you in off a street protest, right? But let's face it, you're out in a weekend. I mean, the worst you would have faced is some sort of a trial like the J20, right? Where if it got violent, like if Windows started getting broke and shit like that, and even they were found innocent. The J20 were found innocent, right? So let's look at it from that perspective. If he had started a street protest against that hospital, okay, there would have been significant cost to the hospital and a significant impact on patient care and access to the hospital. But he didn't do that. Instead, that, and to me, in my mind, that would have been immoral. I would have actually been against that. I don't think that protesting a hospital in the street is the right way to go for that exact reason. Okay? I would have been morally against that. Instead, what Marty did was the complete opposite. He did the moral thing, which is look, we have to protest this. We have to make a point that's big enough that it gets into the media. So let's do it online against an insignificant part of their website. We'll still get the massive publicity. We'll still get the story out there, but we won't trash the fucking hospital in the streets. We won't cost them all that money, and we won't impact patient care. To my mind, what Marty did was the ultimate of an ethical choice. And so I think that people, especially even information activists who have been hesitant to support Marty, have not really looked at this big picture of what it is that Marty did, what it is he was fighting for, and how the choices that he made, what choices he could have made to protest this, and what choices he did make to protest it. And the bottom line is he was effective, and that's why this juror of conscience was going to refuse to convict him
Yeah.
and would have given us a hung jury, okay? Because she realized that she couldn't follow the letter of the law in this case. That this was a case of what they call necessity, which, believe it or not, has been argued successfully in a few, but an amazing few cases of protest. There was a group of nuns in Los Angeles, a case that I followed over a decade ago. I followed it in the news, where these nuns went in and disabled an ICBM missile in its silo. And they argued the case of necessity. They said, look, this missile is aimed at millions of people. It is absolutely critical that we stop that. And the judge, being a rare judge of conscience, actually agreed. And they were able to argue the case of necessity. I don't know I don't know the details of if Marty bothered or tried to argue the case of necessity, but it's certainly what I will argue if I'm ever caught and dragged back to America, is that these homeless people that I was fighting for were being killed by their own government, by the brutal treatment of the police department and by the laws that were being put into place to gentrify this entire city. They were killing an unprecedented number of homeless people were dying and were sick and were being essentially tortured by the local police department. And I stood up for that. And I did a 30-minute lousy DDoS on a government site for 30 minutes at noon, at lunch hour, on purpose at lunch hour, because I figured that would be the time when the fewest legitimate people would be trying to access it. And I made my point. We got a huge bunch of local press for it. The homeless people's case got out there, and it was almost no cost to the county government. They came out and said there was no damage whatsoever. Their spokesman actually said that on the news, said there was no damage to our site whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I could have shut that county building down. I had to pull. By that point, I was a famous local activist. I could have surrounded that building with 1,000 people and shut it down for hours, maybe even days. I had that kind of pull in the local community. Okay. And that would have cost them. That would have cost people access to that building, access to their own government. It would have cost the government money, and I would have done a weekend in jail. Instead, because I took it online and cost them nothing but still made my point, I'm facing 12 years. So this is how upside down these CFAA cases are. These, especially when it deals with the DDoS, is that these are being treated like national security cyber attacks, when in fact they are the most passive, peaceful form of protest that you can imagine. It's even more peaceful than if you were to go down there and shut these businesses down in person. It's even less damaging to them than that.
and yet we're facing these ridiculous, brutal sentences, and that violates not just my rights as an American. It violates free speech. It violates the UN international rights, which don't mean anything in America because most people don't know this. But the United States of America is in a small club of 5 countries, which include North Korea, who would not sign the UN Human Rights Accord. Fortunately for me, the country I'm currently in, Mexico, not only signed the UN Human Rights Accord, but enshrined them into their constitution. So my rights here are bulletproof under the UN Human Rights Accord. And the UN Human Rights Accord is specific on political crimes. The punishment must fit the crime, especially in political acts. The punishment must be commensurate with the crime.
Yeah, we had
And so I'll come back to America and do a month in jail. I'm good with that. I'll do it right now.
yeah.
If you want to be reasonable, I'll even plead guilty because I did do it. Okay? It's not that I'm trying to avoid accountability for my actions. The reason that you do civil disobedience is because it is breaking the law. That's the whole point, is to break the law. Okay? So, but the point is that you don't pony up to have your entire life in prison, for speaking up for 30 minutes on the internet for a 30-minute protest. That's not even, there's nowhere except maybe Iran or Bahrain or Saudi Arabia where that's a reasonable proposition.
I think they chop
And we're
off your head
not,
there.
United States of America is not supposed to be one of those kind of things. So this is a persecution that, and this is why we have not just one. It's not just Aaron Swartz. I don't have the names at my fingertips. Topiary is the one who sent me the data, and I have it saved in my archive. I am eventually going to put the data out there. It'll be in my petition to the Mexican government. 4, including Aaron Swartz, 4 hackers have committed suicide because of CFAA charges. This right away has to tell you that something is wrong because that's more people than commit suicide for fucking child rape. Okay? So something has to be going on there if this law is so brutal and these prosecutions are so brutal. And what's brutal about them is what I experienced with my sister. They don't just go after you. Like Aaron Swartz, and the same thing that has happened to me with my sister, they go after your friends, they go after your family. They staked my sister's house out for years, and I had nothing to do with her. I had no communication with her, covert, overt, or otherwise. I did that on purpose. It was a hard choice that I had to make to cut my family off so that the FBI would know if they were surveilling them, they would know that I'm not contacting them, that I have nothing whatsoever to do with them. Leave my family out of this, right? And I would say that publicly. I have nothing to do with my family. I'm having no communication. I had Jay Wiederman, my lawyer, contact them and tell them I'm having no communication with my family. Leave them alone. It didn't matter. They would stake out her house. They would stalk her. They would park in her driveway, dude. So she had to walk around the sedans to get to the fucking store. And this went on for years. That's fucking harassment. And this is why activists and information activists take their own life. It's not because of their own situation. It's because of what they do to your family. So the FBI, in this is like the Gestapo, man. And it's all about what we say. It's about our speech. Because how come? Think about this, Tyler. When was the last time you seen a follower of the Jester in the dock for DDoS? And and I know how often the Jester and his crew are out there. They're DDoSing fucking everything in sight.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw one of those fucking cunts in the dock facing CFAA charges? I'll tell you when. Never. Never. But why is it only anons? Why is it only anons facing these CFAA charges? Why? I'll tell you why. Because Anonymous's message doesn't jive with what the United States government wants people to be talking about. They don't like our speech. They don't like what we say. That's why I went to bat for Food Not Bombs. The nuns in the Catholic Church can go into that park in Orlando and they can feed people all day long and they won't get shut down. Why? Because they're the Catholic Church. That's the message that everybody in the government likes. But if Food Not Bombs goes into that same park and tries to feed people, they get arrested for feeding people. Why? It's not the food. It's not the food is not bad. It's not. It's simply because they don't like the food not bombs message, so they shut down their speech. You see, it's all of these cases. When you peel the layers of these cases about against activists apart, you always come back to that it's not what they're doing, it's what they're saying. And that's why so many of these cases are about free speech. It's not what Marty was doing. Any script kiddie with no manifesto could have DDoSed that portal. Do you think the FBI would have spent $500,000 chasing him down if they issued no manifesto? Just do it in your basement for whatever amount of time Marty did it for, and then stop, and then just never say a thing, not to your friends, not on Twitter, not anything. Do you think they would have investigated that? That shit happens all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Okay, they wouldn't have investigated that. It was what Marty was saying. He was saying these people are systemically fucking evil, and they need to be shut the fuck down. And that went up somebody's ass sideways, who then had some pull with the FBI and the US DOJ. And they said, oh, it's anonymous. We already got a beef against them. Let's go get it. And then they spend the money and they go get you. And so it's always about the speech. So there's no free speech and dissent left in the United States of America. And if you think there is, go try to start an Occupy in your local park. Go put up 5 tents in your local park. I guarantee you, you won't last a fucking day before they're out there with friggin' shotguns and tear gas. Why? Why? Why can't you camp in one little corner of your park as a form of political protest? Why is that so objectionable? And it's because of what you're going to say while you're out there. It's not because of what you're going to do. Because if you're a bunch of Christians and you want to have a prayer group and you go camp for the weekend in the park, I guarantee you they'll look the other way. Okay?
Yeah.
It's always about the fucking speech. And that's the worst part about this. They're supposed to be fucking America. They're supposed to be the linchpin of liberty in America, is the freedom of fucking speech. And yet these cases will always come back to that. It will always come back to that. And that it makes me livid, because even here in Mexico, they respect free speech more than they respect it there. You know, I mean, you can't you don't have the kind of CFAA laws like like here. If you DDoS some website, yeah, you might. If they're pissed enough, they might track you down and put you in jail for a month or two. That's the worst you're facing.
Yeah. I mean,
Mexico's got other problems.
what Dave.
Mexico's got other problems with speech, but it's caused by the cartels, and the cartels like to shut down and kill journalists who write articles about them. That's not the government doing it. That's not a systemic form of free speech suppression. That's a cultural problem. They have drug cartels, and that's a problem that, quite frankly, I believe is geographic. I mean, let's face it. Mexico has a rough fucking road to hoe, because geographically they are located right dead between all the people who produce the drugs in South America and all the people who consume the drugs in North America. So of course, the drugs are transiting across Mexico. That's going to cause a problem for this country. Okay, it causes corruption. It causes people to get dead. But I really feel for Mexico, and I think that if drugs were legalized, I think that Mexico's problems, to a great extent, would evaporate. People would be shocked. Tyler, you would be shocked. This economy less than Portugal as far as GDP. When we walk around, me and my sister, we walk around openly. We're not scared for our lives. And yeah, there's a fair amount of poverty, I'm not going to lie, but it's not like people make it out to be. It's not people living in grass huts and riding around on burros. There's traffic on the highway that I can see right looking out my window right now. There's just regular highway traffic. We got a Walmart. In the city we live in, there's a fucking Walmart, for Christ's sakes. I mean, it's a normal country. It's a bit poorer, I won't lie, than America, but it's not like some impoverished, undeveloped, shithole in Africa or something. It's a nice country. We like it here. And guess what? The people are 10,000 times better than the people I knew in America. So, I mean, these people got character. And we are treated so good here. Every store that we go into, every eatery that we go into, people give us a big smile. Little kids wave at us because we look different, and like, oh, look at the Americanos. You know what I mean? I mean, we're treated wonderfully here. These people are fucking wonderful. This is a great country, and I think it's going to get greater. their economy is booming, their economy is growing, and it's only going to get better for them. So it's just a piece, it's just a lie that Mexico is this horrible, drug infested, poverty stricken shithole. It's a wonderful country, and it's doing quite well for itself. Much better than I ever expected, because I had those same stereotypes when I came here. And I
Well,
was
you
shocked
see a lot of that
to
like on
see.
border cities, but you see that all over the world where there's problems in border cities because of the
Well, I won't
politics.
lie that
Yeah,
Juarez was a scary place. I
yeah.
was in Juarez, which is the murder capital of the world, and there were literally cops with machine guns every 10 feet. Literally every, even in Starbucks, inside the Starbucks, there were cops with machine guns in the Starbucks to guard the Starbucks. So yeah, Juarez was a bit hairy. And they let you know there's an American section that's very well protected. And I was okay. I walked around during daylight hours, and even a couple of times I slipped out for pizza at night. But I was careful not to leave that American section that was the protected part of the city. So I was okay. But I did get a tour when I first arrived in Juarez. I got a tour of the rest of the city, and it was pretty horrible. I mean, the poverty is pretty breathtaking. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, there's problems. But look at the poverty in Appalachia. I've been to Appalachia, and anybody who's never been to Appalachia and thinks America is this great
Yeah, there's
country with
people
no
living with
fucking
nothing
endemic
out there.
poverty, yeah, yeah. I mean, fuck me. So I made 2 trips to Appalachia as part of a group to go there and build houses. And wow, I mean, the shit that I saw there, I just couldn't believe I was still in fucking America. And I guess what? I've never seen it that bad in Mexico. Not yet. I'm sure it does exist. I've heard that Chiapas is really, really bad. It's a place that I haven't gone, and I'm not planning on going anytime soon. But I've heard that Chiapas is really bad. Um, I'm blessed. I can't, I obviously, for obvious reasons, can't say exactly where I am. But I found an area of several cities, actually. We've been moving around lately from city to city for our own safety. But we found several cities in Mexico that are in one sort of general area that it's very, very good. It's very, very nice here. The poverty level is as minimal as it can possibly be. People they love Americans. They have an understanding here that Americans usually mean something good for their economy. So like for instance, local stores are huge here. One of the things that's cool is almost every neighborhood you move into has like 4 stores within walking distance that are all family owned. And if you, we always pick one, usually the closest one to where we're living, and try to do as much business there as we can. Like, and so, you see the smile on their face when you walk in the door. I mean, they're so happy to see you, and they're so happy to have your business. So, they're actually grateful for Americans here. And how cool is that when you stop to think about the fact of how badly America in general is treating their people? I haven't met a single family here that doesn't have people in America working, and many of them are undocumented, and yet they don't hold that against you at all, which is amazing. I mean, how cool is that? Because do you think you'd find that kind of open-mindedness in America? Let's say, for instance, Tyler,
Yeah.
that Americans were coming over here and getting their kids taken from them and put into Mexican camps. How bad, how much hate do you think would be generated for that against Mexicans in America if that were happening? Because America is a hateful fucking country. They love to hate. They'll use any excuse to hate. These people have an excuse, a good one, and they don't. We have never felt that. Not once since we've been here have we felt any kind of aggression or hatred towards us. We felt nothing but openness and hospitality and kindness from the Mexican people. And I think that that's a testament to the character of these people and to the character of this country, that we have been able to be fairly open. Excuse me. Be fairly open and not face that kind of prejudice. So we have gotten a taste of what it's like to be a minority. We haven't gotten the bad end of it, but it does feel funny that everywhere you go, people look at you.
Well, especially
You know what I mean?
when you go
But at
to
least they're
central Mexico. Yeah, I've been out in like in the middle of
But
like,
but at least people are looking at you with kindness. They're not
yeah,
looking at you mean. But it does feel funny. I mean, for the first time in my life, I'm a minority because I was in Canada for 8 years, and obviously I wasn't. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I didn't have that sense. So it does give you a taste of what life must be like for a minority, and we're certainly conscious of it, and we're careful. You know what I mean? We don't want to get hurt, so we're careful and we're conscious of that, and that's different. That's definitely different. But the Mexican people have been wonderful to us. I have nothing but good things to say about the Mexican people, and I think that these people have great character. They are profoundly spiritual people. I mean, it's 85% Catholic, and they take that very very seriously down here. I'm not saying I don't believe in religion in general, but I don't believe it's necessarily a bad thing either. Um, these people take it seriously. They actually are kind and compassionate because their God tells them to be. And we see it during the festivals. Like we love to go out and check out. They have these huge, elaborate religious festivals that are so colorful. They put on these wonderful, colorful costumes and beat drums and burn incense and they do it often. I mean, they love an excuse to throw a party. One of the things that Mexican people have a 2,000 year history of partying. I mean, they have made partying a cultural art form. And so the fiesta, the art of the fiesta, is just unbelievable. I mean, when you go to an open air fiesta down here, you know you've been somewhere, and it's great because it's like going to a carnival without having to pay any money. You just get to walk around and be in awe and eat good food and all that shit and have everybody smiling and laughing and um, we've had. I have nothing but good things to say. We're looking forward to having this discussion with the Mexican government so that we can get our asylum, get our papers, and then we can travel much more openly. We would like to travel the length and breadth of Mexico. We'll also be able to travel all of Latin America on our asylum because when you get asylum in one Latin American country, it's good for all of Latin America because of the OAS Refugee and Asylum Treaty. So
or
we'll be able to go.
Argentina would
We'd
be
like to go
pretty
to
to go to.
Brazil.
Yeah, Argentina's pretty.
I want to go to Brazil because I'm friends with Glenn, and my sister hasn't met him, so I think she'd get a kick out of meeting Glenn Greenwald. So we're gonna go down there and
I
bang
get
on
you.
his door when we get our papers and go check him out. But yeah, we want to travel at least the length and breadth of Mexico and Latin America. So we got some exciting things coming up. I said I can't spill the bag, but I just think that it will profoundly change the narrative as far as the CFAA case goes, and as far as this general U.S. DOJ persecution of information activists. I think it would change the narrative if my sister and I succeed, when we succeed, at becoming the first Anons in history to be granted political asylum. And we're going to use that. We're going to use that like a club to try to make a difference for everybody we left behind, all the other Anons who are in harm's way. And hopefully it'll make the world at least stand up and take cases like Marty G's much more seriously. Marty G should have had thousands of people marching in the streets. And hopefully we can change the narrative to where the next Anon that goes down for this will get that kind of support because of the profile, because of the limelight that we're able to put on this issue, hopefully. And we don't have to do that. I'd like to point out that those who criticize myself and my sister publicly, Anons especially, I'd like to point out that we don't have to do that. We can just go to ground, live our lives nice and peaceful. We're free. We got what we want, right? We got ours. We don't have to put ourselves out on Front Street. We don't have to put ourselves back in harm's way, but we're gonna. Even after we're granted asylum, we're going to be more vocal in public than you can ever imagine. And it's because we're determined to dedicate our good luck, our liberty, to putting light on these other cases like Marty Keys. And I think we'll be able to make a difference. So I hope people will be rooting for us in the next few weeks. We should have, uh, in bits and pieces, we should have some news to put out there about the case. And it's looking sort of positive.
I got you.
It always looked positive, but it looks even more positive now. So hopefully, knock on wood, and if you can find yourself to look past your grievances against me to support that, I think it's important. It's important for the narrative.
Referring back to your case and Marty's, like because we have Anons that have faced similar charges and then Brussels, specifically one of them that we knew, or sorry, Belgium, and
The case I love to compare the best is China. There was an anon in China who was caught DDoSing like 6 different government websites in China on behalf of the Occupy Hong Kong movement.
yeah,
Remember the umbrella movement they called it, the Occupy Hong Kong? He did 6, and he got the maximum sentence allowed,
which was how long?
6 months.
Yeah, that's what that's what
Six
that's
months
what
to
that basically.
6 months and 6 months, and because it was political, the judge suspended it. The judge scared
Yeah,
him at first. He came out and he said, "I'm giving you the maximum 6 months," and he goes, "But because it was political, I'm suspending it. 6 months and a $500 fine
yeah. This is like
in China,
this is
in fucking China.
America has
Jesus Christ, man.
America has the most prisoners locked up in the world. There's a problem with our fund. There's a problem with the court system. There's a problem with that whole side of America in general. It's draconian. It makes the
It's the
legally.
crushing of dissent.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah.
It's all about dissent. They are so terrified, and it really began. It's always been the case. I was in the streets during apartheid, for Christ's sakes, in the 80s, okay? It's always been oppressive to protest in the streets. But it's reached a new fervor ever since 2010 and 2011 and the Arab Spring and Occupy. And that's when they made the decision that there's no ifs, ands, or buts. In the 80s, you see all kind of pictures like of the apartheid movement, and you see the same scenes. You're like, what has changed? You see the scenes of the tear gas and the rubber bullets, and you're like, what the fuck has changed, right? There was Kent State, which was in the 70s, right? Just before my protest career started. And they shot him, they killed him, right? So people go, nothing's changed. Well, yeah, yes and no. I was there. I was boots on the ground during apartheid, and there was a code. There was a code back then. The cops would take the leaders of a protest aside and they would make a deal. And they'd be like, okay, we're going to let you have 6 hours in the streets. We won't even touch you. We'll just be on the sidewalks and we'll let you go nuts. Okay? Unless you break something. If you fuck up, then we're going to gash you. But if you just want to march and scream and yell, we'll give you 6 hours. After 6 hours, then we're going to give the order and you'll have so long to disperse. And you did. You had a good, decent amount of time. They didn't just give the order and then fire the tear gas 10 seconds later. They would give the order and give you an hour to get the fuck out of the streets, okay? Now, I'm not saying that's even right because back then I remember believing that that's not right. And I still believe that that's not right. I don't think there should be a limit to free speech or assembly. But at least there was a code of honor. At least they were willing to let you have your say, okay? The way it's gone now is, like I said, go to your local park right now. I challenge anybody. Get 5 people, go set up your tents, and put up a sign that says Occupy on it. You'll be toast by morning. They will run you off by morning. Okay? There is no leeway anymore. There is no code of honor. There is no fucking dissent at all. In fact, they are putting on their armored vests and priming their rubber bullets and their gas canisters before you even get there because they're spying on you on social media. They're spying on your groups. They're physically infiltrating your groups with undercover agents, going to your organizing meetings and shit. And they know when you're going to be in that park, so they will literally be there before you get there with your fucking tents. And so there is no longer any room for any dissent at all in the United States of America, either in the streets or online. If you say shit that they don't want you to say, that's it. You're fucking toast. No ifs, ands, or buts. No fucking, we'll give you fucking 10 minutes to say your piece and then leave. Nothing. They just fucking shoot your ass. And that's just fucking crazy, man. That's like Saudi Arabia. That's like fucking Bahrain. That's like China, to be honest with you, because that's the way they are. If you're in China and you don't last 10 minutes in a protest before they're fucking gassing you. And, you know, if it were China, I suppose it wouldn't be surprising. But this is supposed to be the United States of America, the freest country in the world. I have been protesting for 35 years now. It has never been free. Okay. But I will tell you that in the 35 years I've been protesting, it has never been less free than it is now. It is now as bad as it can get. Okay. And I don't know. I'm appalled. I'm appalled to be an American. I really am. At least in this country, these people protest all the time. I tell you what, Mexico loves to protest. And yeah, I have seen scenes of tear gas and whatnot, but I've also seen scenes where they protest for days on end and the cops don't touch them. Okay, it's really all about, a lot of it's about public order and whether or not there's been any damage being done to the buildings and stuff like that. They're actually much more reasonable about street protests here in Mexico than they are in the United States of America. So, that's again part of the argument of my asylum case is that the human rights situation in the United States of America is so much worse than really almost any country in the world right now. And Americans, they need to pull their head out of their ass and see this because it could be you in the streets. And the MAGA people are starting to see this now because now it's them out in the streets. You know what I mean? And so, if they can do this to, people that you don't agree with, then they can do this to you. They can shoot you. They can gash you too. And I think that the conservatives, by the by, they're going to find this out, and then maybe they will understand that free speech is an all around thing. If you have free speech, it means I have to have free speech. It means we all have free speech. And if you take it from one, you take it from all. And the United States is really a dictatorship at this point. And it's not about Trump. It was a dictatorship under Obama. You know what I mean? It's Comey and Obama that chased me for 8 years, not Trump. In fact, I might have a fair chance of getting a pardon out of Trump. We're working on that end of it. We're working on that angle. And we've actually got some fairly positive input back. I could actually possibly get a pardon from Donald Trump. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's at least far more possible than it was under Obama and Comey. Um, I'd like to remind some people that think that Trump is so bad for information activists. Obama locked up more information activists and whistleblowers than all the previous presidents in history put together. In what way was he not a dictator? Explain that to me. You know what I mean? People who think that Obama was such a great guy. He didn't stop the droning. He didn't stop the torture. He didn't fucking do anything. You don't even have universal health care. He botched that. I mean, I don't see why people think Obama was such a fucking great guy. To me, he was just more of the fucking same. More of the fucking same. I don't see any improvement. To me, it really almost doesn't matter who they put in the chair. It's the system that's fucked up.
Yeah, for sure. Seems like everything.
Hey, we're not gonna end the show on. Hey, we're not gonna end the show on nuclear Armageddon tonight. about that? How about that? Huh?
Oh yeah,
Instead,
speaking
we're
of
gonna
which,
end it on fucking.
that was crazy.
Oh no! Here we go. See, it was too good to be true. I had to
No,
bring it up. See, I jinxed it.
like no.
Here we go.
So the whole shit. Like
Here come the mushroom clouds, folks.
no,
Brace
I
for
like
it.
so we were so that all that shit that we were talking, that Trump was talking, like I knew this was gonna happen. So Trump's learning everything the hard way, like a kindergartner. You know, as you know, I mean, he's got to get these life experiences that he didn't get because mommy and daddy gave him all his fucking money, right? So he's getting his fucking feet wet in politics and real fucking shit he can't barter with money. So he made a deal and he's talking with fucking Kim Jong Un and calling him Rocky Man and all this fucking shit. He meets him and then everything's different. They're best pals. They got this bromance going on, and wouldn't you know, he's still making.
They're sharing tips on comb overs.
He's still
See, that's
making
what it
nukes.
is.
He's still making nukes, and on the date, on July 30th, we found out he was still making nukes. On August 1st, today, or yesterday, Trump said he basically was fucking like sucking his dick on a fucking tweet. And I'm just like, man, like, what was all that bullshit about trying to have our country go to nuclear war when you're just cool and you just have to become friends with the guy who's making the bomb? And that's what I'm like, man, like nothing makes any sense anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like all of that bullshit.
Well, that's been the case
Yeah.
since 2016. Really, that's been the case, hasn't it? Been completely surreal. I mean, could you even have written a book about this? You know what I love watching is Mr. Robot, and I hate to say I'm a huge fan of that show. And it's incredible how prophetic that show was, where long before we even had any idea of Trump, they were talking about Donald Trump being elected president in that show. And how surreal and ridiculous is that show, right? I mean, as far as reality, like, you know what I mean? It's like kind of not real at all. I mean, it's a great show. I love it. But let's face it, you know, you got to suspend your disbelief because it's not, you know, it's not a show about reality, you know. And yet now we're living in that reality, which is it's almost like we're living in some sort of bizarre Tom. It's like if Tom Clancy were to eat acid and write a novel.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's pretty
That would
much.
be the fucking the life that we're living in, and it's just and to me it's very very surreal. But you know what? I hate to say it. I love how interesting it is, though, Tyler. I really do. I just think that you know the thing about Obama and Hillary Clinton, if she'd have gotten elected, it would have continued it. That regime was crushingly boring. You know what I mean? At least this is interesting. And one of the things I like what Julian said in an interview, it's also chaotic. And you know what? From chaos comes change. You don't get chaos. You don't get change from more of the same. What you get change from is when everything turns upside down and the basket gets emptied. And I really feel like I don't know what kind of change we're going to get. I think it's really up to us to decide whether or not that change is going to end up being positive or negative. But something will change from all this. That's fucking absolutely. I mean, that's self-evident.
Oh, I know.
Okay, that there's going to be change from all this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the most chaotic time that I've ever seen in my life, and I'm 54 years old. And I lived through the tail end of the 60s, which was incredibly chaotic. Okay, but this is the most ridiculous I've ever seen in our world. And I just think that again I find it interesting. I find the potentiality of it interesting. The potential to do so many things. You know what I mean? To affect so many different things. And I think it's I think if people looked at it that way, maybe they would have less stress over it, especially activists who are so pained right there now. They're like, oh my God. But I get it that there's people hurting. But just let's take one example, the immigration thing. Okay? That's where people are hurting the most. How can you advocate for them hurting like that? Well, I'll tell you how I can because guess what? I think that that could end up with some really positive changes in the immigration law because there's always a snapback. Politics are like rubber bands. They always tend to snap back. That's the nature of politics. It's cyclic. It works in cycles.
Yeah.
And so we're in a trough right now with immigration rights, but that could really lead to a real peak in it as all of a sudden everybody, because guess what? Obama separated children. Maybe not in the mass numbers, but certainly hundreds and hundreds of children were separated from their parents under the Obama administration.
Yeah, but
He
but
lost
he
the
also
children
let in
too.
he also
He,
let in refugees though. Like which
yes, he
yeah,
did.
yeah.
I'm just saying that there were problems there too, but guess what? Nobody would criticize Obama for it. Why? Because he was the great black hope, right? He was it. He was, you know, he was the guy that brought hope. He
Yeah.
was uncriticizable, okay? So even though his mistakes were smaller on a scale than Trump's, nobody ever, you didn't see anybody blockading airports or blockading ICE offices over it. And so those children may not have been in the thousands, but I guarantee they suffered just as much.
But
And there was no chance for change under his regime.
do
Under Trump's regime, by peeling the band-aid off, by making this problem so public, okay, so overt that nobody can ignore it, there's the possibility at least of systemic change going forward.
you know,
And
I've never been with the president where a president has done an executive so many executive orders and they've been overturned by a Supreme Court and declared unconstitutional. It's like a weekly fucking event. I'm like, I've
yeah.
never seen anything like this ever. You know?
The guy seems to be throwing every spaghetti noodle at the wall to see which ones will stick.
Yeah.
And I get that. He's a tyrant. He's a bully. he's a misogynist and he's a racist. I get that. I get that. I just feel like, in a way, I've had so many arguments with people. In a way, I just feel that this is better. And the reason I feel that is I feel that if we'd have gotten Hillary, we'd have had the same thing as Obama. She would have been the first woman president. So, oh my God, that's got to mean she's a saint, right? And and so it would have papered over so many systemic problems in America. All Trump has done, Trump didn't create any new systemic problems. There was these
He's
things
just fucking
always
shit up worse.
existed.
Faster.
All he's done is blown them up. All he's done is blown them up into these big, huge things. And I just say, what that might not be a bad thing. I would like people to think on, maybe that's not a bad thing. Okay, maybe at least maybe now we can face these problems, and we can get some sort of systemic change because we'll get people riled up over them. We'll get people in the streets over them. We'll get people to vote based on them. And we'll get, the knuckleheads that are in Congress now will get voted out. And people who sincerely want to change this might get voted in. Now, I know that's a pipe dream. That's utopia. But at least now there's a chance we can see that happen because we see mass numbers of people involving themselves in these issues. And my fear, and why I fought so hard against Hillary Clinton getting elected, my fear is that if Hillary got in, it would just be 8 more years of the fucking same. 8 more years of wars that everybody fucking swallowed hook, line, and sinker because, oh, it's Hillary saying we got to do it. 8 more years of just basically no immigration reform at all, and the immigrants still suffering. Okay, 8 more years of blacks getting gunned down in the streets from one end of the country to the other. 8 more years of fucking racists hiding in the closet and running our schools and our police departments and every fucking thing else. All of that shit would have just kept on going, and America would have stayed the same rotten shithole that it is now. At least now people see, not just in America, but around the world, see America for what it truly is. Because America has to face the fact that it's fucked up. It's really fucked up. It's always been really fucked up. And at least under Trump, we see that now. You can't hide from it. You can't deny it. And it's why thoughtful people like myself and other people, I'm not going to name them, believed that Trump, in a twisted sort of way, may actually be a really fucking good thing for the world and for America. Because finally people have to face what America really is. You can't hide from it anymore. Because I believe that America has always been this fucked up. It's just that it was papered over by smiling fucking talking heads that we kept electing as president. And so people, and especially when you had Obama and Hillary, the first black, the first woman, they became bulletproof just because of that. Just because you're the first of something, you're like a fucking saint. You know what I mean? Obama didn't have to crush dissent when he got elected. He just sucked all the air out of it because nobody wanted to march in the streets against the dude. Because he's the great hope, and he's black. And I'm not saying it wasn't great that we finally got a black president elected. I think that was huge. I celebrated like everybody else did. I was excited. But he didn't change anything. He was just a fucking Republican in disguise. And he got away with it because nobody wanted to fucking fuck with him. Okay?
All I know
People want to fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
People love fucking with this guy. This guy begs people to fuck with him on Twitter. Okay, so I just think that that's an exciting time to be in. I think it's an exciting time because I think it will lend itself to more social change.
We'll never
than
see
we would
anything
have
like this
gotten
again. I
if
hope.
Hillary-
I hope to God we never see anything like this ever again.
I don't know. I hope fucking Ivanka gets fucking elected. Let's do it. Bring the whole
I
stupid
think.
family on.
I think
Former-
that she's got more.
Why not? And what's fair for the
She's-
Trump? What's fair for the Clintons is fair for the Trumps
She's
now.
probably got
And
more.
look at the Bushes. They had what? 3 presidents. 3 presidents in one family. If the Bushes get 3, then Trump at least gets 2. I think Ivanka should
I
be
would
in.
probably vote.
She's at least a hottie.
She's
I mean, at
she's
least
probably got
that.
more common
She's
sense
got
than
that.
he does. That's all I guess. All I can.
I think she's dumber than a box of rocks, but maybe not as stupid as Trump. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
I
he
just
has
no.
he literally has no culture awareness. He said when he was talking and when he was addressing people in the when he was in the United Kingdom, that Ireland was part of the United Kingdom, and I was just like, I had my head down like this. I was just like, oh God, did he really just say that? Like, in shame, like, are you fucking stupid? There's like only like it's not Ireland. Most of Ireland is independent from the British Crown, like except for Northern Ireland, which is like in dispute, but. Like he doesn't know what he's doing, you know.
Well, I have the strangest relationship. I have tons of mega followers now. We've talked about this before in the show, and that's another upside down part of this world. How does a crypto anarchist hacker fugitive end up with fucking hundreds and hundreds of mega followers?
Yeah.
And I know how it happened, but I mean, it's just like it's ridiculous. And before all my mega people start unfollowing, it's like, they don't get that I'm okay with their guy getting elected, and I did work against Hillary, and I was one of the anybody but Hillary camp. I really was. So I guess in a backwards sort of way, I helped get Trump elected. I mean, I didn't directly support him. I made fun of him throughout the entire election, but I also was working with WikiLeaks and anybody else to tear her a new asshole and crush her. And I really felt like she was the absolute worst possible choice for our world and for the country. And I still believe that. I still believe that Hillary was far more damaging to liberty in America and also to the entire world than Trump is.
Well, straight up,
Trump is a buffoon.
she wanted to go
If
to war
any,
with Russia, which would have been a big mistake. That was
of
fucking crazy.
course,
That was
of
fucking crazy.
course, of course. People make fun out of Trump for fucking shaking hands with Putin. Are you kidding me? The two men those two men control 90% of the nuclear arsenal of the world, and you want them to fight?
Yeah.
Are you a fucking retard? Do you want to breathe radioactive air for the rest of your short fucking life? I mean, seriously, how is a rapprochement with Russia ever a bad thing?
It's
The common sense of people it really defies me. And Hillary Clinton was one of the worst fucking warmongers. It wasn't just Russia she wanted to go to war with. She would have gone to war all over the fucking Middle East. She would have become the drone fucking queen. Okay? And if you're one of those little children in the Middle East and you're getting droned at weddings and shit like that, okay, you might give a shit about that. And I mean, at least Trump is willing. People are all mad at Trump this week because he wants to sit down with the president of Iran. Are you kidding me?
this is a good thing.
Why?
This is a good thing.
What could possibly be fucking wrong with that? Okay? And finally, we got a president who's willing to put aside all the stupid anal protocols that for years have supposedly kept presidents from doing that and sit down and just say, look, dude, what's up? Are you going to give up your nukes or what? Because we'll give you a lot of money if you do. Because we just want peace. Because we'll make money. We'll be able to put up a McDonald's in Tehran. Okay? So we'll make our money too. So we'll give you some money. We'll eliminate the
That's
sanctions.
kind of actually, now
But
that
we want you to
I
really destroy those fuckers, though.
yeah,
We want to see it this time. We want to be standing there while you unscrew the things and grind them up into
I
dust.
just kind of like
And
thought
that's all
thought,
we
it-
want.
thought that
And
that might not actually be a good thing because Iran has like 3 proxy wars going on. you know, like
all I'm saying is there can't possibly be anything wrong with Trump talking to these people. I have
yeah,
always thought, even long before Trump, I've always thought that it was foolish not to talk to the worst of the worst. Why not? Kim Jong Un, most ridiculous dictator on planet Earth, most ridiculous dictator ever in history. Okay, why not talk to the dude? What do you got to lose? The dude's already so fucked up that he's beyond reality fucked up. So what do you got to lose by sit down and talk with the dude? You're fucking America, the most powerful fucking country on earth. Okay, what do you got to lose? And I just in a way I gotta really shake my head at people criticize Trump for the shit that's obvious, the shit that he admitted to before he was even elected. He's a misogynist, racist dickhead. and he's dumber than a box of rocks.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. You've got your ammunition, okay? But don't criticize him on shit that he actually does right. I mean, are you fucking crazy? I mean, I would love it if he actually made an actual solid fucking deal with Iran and North Korea and they give him the peace prize. And, at least he'll deserve it for doing that shit. Because you know what? They gave Obama the peace prize. And when did that dude ever make fucking peace with anybody?
Nah, he just kept on doing the same thing everybody else was, just continuing the wars that are going on for
He
no
just
fucking.
kept on bombing the
Yeah.
fuck out of everybody, droning the fuck out of everybody. The dude was the least peaceful president I've ever seen in my fucking life. And the least deserving of the Peace Prize, which doesn't surprise me because they gave the fucking thing to Henry Kissinger, which is when I fucking lost all fucking faith in the Peace Prize to begin with. It's a joke.
Well, actually, no. He
If they
wanted
give
to
it
back out of
fucking
Afghanistan, but him, just like every other president, listens to his military board of advisors when they say, "Oh no, we can't do that. It's a problem," and he caved in just like everybody else does. You know?
I mean, they gave it to Henry Kissinger, the
Yeah.
worst warmonger in fucking history, okay? So the Peace Prize means nothing, let's face it. But if it's going to mean something, they might as well give it to a dude who actually makes peace. And so if Trump, in this maverick sort of way, going out in this, going out and doing this in this weird sort of off the cuff fucking way, and he actually convinces this dude to grind up his nukes into dust so that he can feed his people, how does he not deserve the fucking Peace Prize? I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of facets to this Donald Trump thing that people are just so emotional about, and they don't want to hear it. It's become such a divisive fucking issue that people cannot see that there is positiveness in this, in the whole thing. There is positiveness. If anything, look at how it's galvanized the resistance. The resistance to empire has never been more galvanized than it is now. that alone is a positive, a positive thing. And I'm still okay with the fact that I fought against Hillary getting elected. That I played one small part because of my work with WikiLeaks in ensuring that she didn't get elected, and I'm still happy about that choice. I'm still good with that choice. I still believe that it is better for the world that she did not get elected and that Donald Trump did. Now, would I have rather seen Bernie? Sure. But we all know that Bernie was locked out of the game real early. They cheated. They locked him out. So, with Bernie off the table, of the two choices that were left, I absolutely believe that Donald Trump was the best choice. And I lose friends and followers every day because I believe that, and because I'm willing to state it openly. And that doesn't mean I don't believe the dude's a raging fucking buffoon. He's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the world
I
needed.
just-
Maybe that's what the world needed to wake up, though. That's all I'm saying is that maybe that's what the world needed to wake up. Because under Hillary Clinton, they would have snoozed for another 8 years.
What I don't
While the
understand.
same rotten shit kept helping.
What I don't understand about him, I really don't get this, is how does a person with the I'm like I guarantee you, like I'm like I know some stupid people in this world. Okay, some, like, I work with all facets of life in my occupation. I don't understand how a person with that low intelligence became a billionaire, even with the help of his parents, like a $22 million loan. I don't understand.
Because it's not rocket science. Real estate is the easiest business to get into in the world. Some of the dumbest people I know are in real estate and make a fortune at it. It's so simple. You buy a piece of property that's in a crowded, developing place where you know that development is coming. It's obvious to see because you see other people building shit. And then you buy the property, you sit on it for a couple of years and sell it to some schmuck for 3 times the amount. It's not even fucking rocket science. It's literally the easiest business to be in the fucking world. And because he was scaled up, because daddy gave him a bunch of millions of dollars to start with, he was able to play the game. If you look at his losses, they were astronomical. I mean, when this guy loses, he loses huge. But just his game is padded because daddy gave him fucking shit tons of money and he's got shit tons more of it. So when he loses, it doesn't show up. But it's the easiest game in the world. This guy didn't invent Windows like Bill Gates. Now that's a hard way to do it.
Bill Gates didn't invent it. He stole it.
Program, invent some piece of software that takes over the entire fucking world. and code it yourself. Now that's some fucking rocket science. That's some shit that impresses me. Okay, but real estate is literally any dumb fuck in the world can do it. Just give them a chance. Just give them even $10,000. You can take some dude off the street, some fucking wino, and give him $10,000 in a real estate license, and he can do it. It's kind of like the stock market. I have no respect for stockbrokers. I've done day trading. It's literally so pathetically easy that it's ridiculous. You buy low, you sell high. It's like, hello,
Yeah.
hello. You read the newspaper and see what companies are doing cool stuff. You buy their stock, sell it later when it's high. Instant fucking money. I mean, a 4-year-old could fucking do it. Okay, so I think that the explanation of how he got rich is not his fucking brains. It's just the business that he chose to get into. It just doesn't take any brains to do it. I mean, it's really that simple. You don't think he designs those Trump towers, do you?
No, he
Some
doesn't.
architect
He
with
does.
actual intelligence designs
Yeah.
the Trump towers. All he does is go in and make the deal for the square plot of land, which again is simple. Buy low and build a building on it, and then it increases in value. I mean, he doesn't build the buildings. He doesn't even design the buildings. You know what I mean? He does nothing and makes money, which is what stockbrokers do. Essentially, they do nothing and they make money. It's really what's wrong with capitalism. I mean, and that's why I'm against capitalism. I don't want to say I'm a communist per se, but I'm definitely against that form of laissez-faire capitalism. People shouldn't be able to do that. The land belongs to everybody. Why should he get to have a piece of it and make billions of fucking dollars? Why was that land not turned into a park or a library or something useful to fucking society? The Trump Tower is not useful to anybody unless you've got $2,000 a night to live in it. So fuck you on that. You don't deserve that. You don't get to do that. So in my mind, it's part of my critique of capitalism in general, that people can just make money because they got money. And they can be dumber than a box of rocks, but they still make money because they got money.
Yeah.
And call me a communist if you will. I don't have an ism. I never studied any communistic philosophy. I just think it's patently obvious that it's fucked up. And part of why the system in our world today is just so fucked up. But yeah, I mean, he really, in a way, he's sort of the penultimate American tycoon who doesn't have to be smart at all. He just has money, so he makes money. It's really that simple. It's not even rocket science. I'll bet you most of the decisions that are made aren't even made by him. It's somebody smart coming to him and saying, hey, we've done a study on this patch of land in Singapore, and if you build the Trump Tower there, it's going to do well. And so he's like, do it, make it happen. And then he goes and drinks another Coke and watches Fox News.
Yeah.
What the fucking kind of intelligence does that take? You know what I'm saying? I mean, the dude's fucking brainless. People that inspire me are people, like I said, like Bill Gates and Jobs. And yes, I know they had their problems too. They're shithead billionaires too. But we see were shithead billionaires who became that way using their brain, using their
Oh,
intelligence.
Steve Wozniak is the only one I really respect. Yeah.
Yeah, and they shit all over him. I mean, he's the
Yeah, but
he just
but
lost
he
out
was the
big
real
time.
brains behind Apple. He was the real programmer, though. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the coder. Even he didn't die poor. I mean, you can't say he was still a millionaire. That's still doing okay for yourself. I
Yeah.
would, I would be satisfied with $1 million right now. I mean, I'm gonna go eat some ramen when I get off the show. So,
No, I
fucking,
think Steve's worth a
yeah,
couple billion. Steve Wozniak. I think he's worth a
yeah.
couple billion now.
Hey, did we lose our other host?
I don't know. He's been on.
Did we have a third host on?
Yeah, he's been on mute. But I know he got. I know he got a new computer, so he might be geeking out on it right now. So.
I feel like we ended up anchoring the show. Me and you, Tyler, all by ourselves. I just hope we didn't just like. I hope we just didn't railroad the rest of the hosts out of that. I know we only started out with 3 though, so I guess what the fuck. I just feel bad. I like him. He's awesome. He's got such great insight. I love all you guys, man. I want to say just for the listeners and to you personally, I'm just honored that you keep inviting me back to be a guest host. I think I think you guys do an incredible show. I think this is a great format. You guys are hysterical. I mean, you leave me laughing every week until the very fucking end. I'm laughing. Last week, ending on the whole
the whole nuclear apocalypse thing. Like, hey, we do this every week. We go straight to a nuclear apocalypse. But hey, we didn't do it this week. We avoided nuclear apocalypse. You guys should be proud of us. We saved the world. We saved the world from nuclear apocalypse on this week's Anonymous Fights Back. You got that. That's worthy of tuning in right there. All on your own. We did it. Me and you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Where's everybody? Are they coming back next week? Do we got where's Mark and everybody? I feel like
Mark's probably
did-
asleep, and then Preston will be back next week. So that'll be
great,
two more
great.
people. The
Awesome,
next, I
awesome.
think we should be like prepping. Oh, we'll save that. It'll be the 9/11 show. We did that. We did that 2 years in a row. That's a fun one. That's gonna be a fun.
9/11.
That's gonna that'll be a fun
It's
episode.
8-3 right now.
I know.
How do you do a 9/11 show?
I'm thinking ahead.
Way ahead, dude. Shit. My birthday is August 18th. If anybody out there wants to send me birthday presents, I want Bitcoins. Send me Bitcoins so I don't have to eat ramen anymore. I turned 54. Yeah, 54. I think. I hope. I have my sister keep track. I'm too old anymore. She does the math for me every year and reminds me how old I am. I think 54 though on August 18th.
Yeah,
Old, eh?
yeah. I've done that. I've done that for 1 year. Forgot how old you were, and then that's really like a sign of like how old you really are when you start forgetting how old you are.
I completely lost track after 51.
Exactly.
I remember 50. I remembered 50 because that's a big deal, half a century. And then I remembered 51, and then after that, I completely lost track, and I have to do the math every year to literally just remember. Of course, this will be the first year in 10 years that I've actually made any kind of a big deal out of my birthday, and that's because for the first time in 10 years, my sister is we're together, and that's a pretty huge deal. I mean, we were separated for 10 years, and she's really the only person who gives a shit about my birthday. So um, I'm actually she's got some surprises up her sleeve. I think I could have a really good day. I mean, I'm going to get up expecting all kinds of interesting things because she takes birthdays pretty seriously. So we both do actually, but I think it's going to be a great day. It'll be the first really good birthday I think I've had in 10 years. So I'm looking forward to it. She's a really fun person to hang out with. So um, even if all we did was just hang out, and smoke a little weed, and eat some ramen,
Yeah, isn't I thought they decriminalized like drugs in Mexico? Am I wrong?
No, not at all. As far as pot goes, but they're really trying. First of all, there's a huge movement to follow Canada and just say fuck it. Stop even messing with it because whether the U.S. gets pissed or not, there is that movement here, and I think they're heading in that direction. In January 1st, they did a strange thing. They legalized edibles and vape.
Okay, so you
That's
can
it,
so you
and
can
only so
so you
you can get a medical card, and you can still get them pretty easy. Like the whole medical card thing's kind of a farce, the way it was
oh, in the
in
beginnings,
America.
yeah.
So you got to get a medical card, and that's pretty easy. The one thing that's weird down here, and that's pretty lax, is that you can get a prescription for anything. They got doctors with just little handwritten signs on their apartments, and you just knock on their door, and they ask you what you want a prescription for, and
Oh
they,
yeah, yeah. Like
I
that's the
mean,
one
it's
thing I
just
like about Mexico is like is they do the same thing in like a bunch of countries like Greece, Vietnam, Hungary, other parts of Europe where you don't necessarily need a doctor to get a prescription. In fact, in Mexico, which is kind of cool, is that you don't need a prescription to get a lot of. In fact, you can actually talk to a pharmacist, and that's as good, that's as legal as it gets. Is like having a professional recommend you medications that you need.
well, and
Because
you should see the prescriptions that you do get too. It's ridiculous. Like the doctor doesn't put a date on it. He doesn't put your
yeah,
name on it. He just scrawls the instructions on his letterhead,
yeah. I mean
and
that's
then you just hand this to a pharmacist. And they do ID you for like some of the hard narcotics like Xanax and shit like that. But your name's not on the script, so they're IDing you just to make sure you're of age, and they write down in a book so that you don't come and get 3,000 of them in like you know a week or whatever. So there's some attempt to sort of regulate the hard drugs
oh
just
yeah,
from getting
yeah,
showing an ID and stuff. but getting the prescriptions is easy. Getting a medical card is super easy. And so for medical purposes, they legalized vape and edibles, but no herbals, and you can't still can't grow any legal. But we did find that marijuana is still pretty easy to get. And the neat thing about it, because of the difference in the value of money and everything, it's about $1.50 a gram down here. And that's for the high grade stuff. You can actually get it for like 20 cents a gram if you
Damn.
just want to smoke
That's like fucking.
brown ass shit weed.
I was gonna say, man, you can't even find that at a dispensary or now they call them, what is it? They just call them, the cannabis shops. You can't even find those kind of prices.
Oh no, nowhere in the world.
Yeah.
For the top shelf shit, it's about $1.50 a gram, maybe at the most. If you get some guy who rips you off because you're white or whatever, you might pay $2 a gram, but that's the most. And then usually the stuff I like to buy, which is just not really swag, it's like somewhere in between because I'm trying to save money. I usually pay about and I got a good connection. I usually pay about 75 cents a gram.
Jesus Christ.
So,
That's like that's cheaper than Colombian prices, and Colombia's growing like pharmaceutical grade weed, dude.
well, you can get the good stuff here. You can get the good stuff here, but you're not going to pay much more. Like I said, about $2 at the very, very most. That's like pushing the limit for the very, very best stuff. It'd be $2 a gram, and it's very prevalent. I mean, it's not hard to find a bro to sell you something. I mean, you got to be careful. Obviously, it's Mexico, and I'm white. I'm an American, so I watch my P's and Q's. But usually, students are pretty good. Like almost any college student, I can ask them, and they'll hook me up.
Yeah, it's kind of a trip because it's
A lot of the low-level laborers, we had a fellow who was doing maintenance for some of our houses and stuff, and just sort of, came up one day. He's like, oh yeah, I do it on the side. And so boom, there you go. You got a connection that you can trust. So we haven't found it incredibly difficult to come across it. And we were told that the cops do not give a shit about it, but just don't smoke in public. So that took a little getting used to because I was coming from Toronto where I could just walk down the street right in front of a cop and be hooping a big hooter, and it was just completely illegal. So that was different. I had to learn to, you keep out of sight. And also here, if you're an American and you get caught with any in public, like say you're getting in another beef, like you got some other beef, and they, for whatever reason, they find it on you, basically 1,000 pesos, which is something like somewhere in the area of $50, is the standard bribe. So basically, any police officer will let you go on a weed charge for about 1,000 pesos.
Shit,
The police here are, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, very corrupt. So basically, there's a bribe for everything. There's actually almost like sort of set amounts of money that will get you pretty much out of any charge.
Oh yeah,
even right up to murder.
Yeah,
murder is 5,000 USD. In case you're curious, we looked into it. Murder is 5,000 USD.
Oh, I got
so if you kill a guy, and you get caught and you want the cops to let you go, it's $5,000.
Jesus.
And then the problem goes away.
And we have 2 minutes left.
Hey, do you want me to do anything? Say goodbye, everybody.
No, I guess we got 1 more minute. I mean, what have I not addressed? Oh, hey, Terrence, there you are.
Nuclear holocaust.
Terrence,
we didn't do it this week.
Oh yeah, we only got a minute left. Terrence, where'd you go? Are you geeking out on that computer?
He sounds like he's gagging or something. Are you okay, dude? Do you want us to call 911?
Oh no, I'm alive. I'm alive. No,
I'm good.
We just got like full like. I'll post I think I posted the specs in the comments there, but yeah, we got like a serious upgrade to our tools today, and I've just been geeking out on the computer.
All right.
That's a good thing to do.
I guess I'll roll out with the credits. We'll be back next week at 7 p.m. Well, I'm gonna start. Let's just say 6:50 p.m. Pacific time. I'm pretty sure to our viewers, we'll have more updates on Julian and more crazy shit on what's going on in the in America. I'm pretty sure it's every week. There's always something going on. We will have more as the
We will
week.
try very hard to avoid nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, and as the week progresses, we're gonna have more updates on Million Mask March because that's coming up, and I believe we will put a corner on every show until the 5th. The plans are already starting now, and this year we hope will be the bigger of most of the years because the previous years have been kind of going downward. So we'll address that. And oh god, we ran out of time. God damn it.